All right. 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 There you go. There you go. There you go. I know you've been waiting on us. I know you've been waiting on us. All right. All right. All right. Well, no need to wait furthermore. Yep. Here we are before you. The homie Ricky and I, warp speed. And good morrow to you, each and every one of you out there in the world. I appreciate you coming to hang out with us for a couple of hours of your day to discuss all things organized violence, in particular, the sport of boxing. So I appreciate that, and I do hope you are having a wonderful day this beautiful Sunday. Greetings from Quebec. Very good morrow to you, sir. Yeah, greetings from Quebec. How's it over there? In Quebec. Yeah, it's I'm sure it's beautiful. If you were privy, of course, to the happenings over the weekend, then of course you know that Quebec hosted some very exciting fights last night, and a lot of them really did live up. I got to see a lot of very good up and comers from all parts of the world. I think I saw a fighter that I'm actually watching the repeat on, a Bulgarian fighter. Bulgaria, ladies and gentlemen. Bulgaria. This fella as Nau or something to that effect. You know me. I don't know how to pronounce a lot of these things. I'm not like Eddie Medi, a world traveler. I'm a planetary traveler. But not a world traveler like Eddie Medi good even for. Homie Ricky, comment vastu. Homie Ricky, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, bro.
Yeah. So, homie Ricky, thank you for joining me on this here live. I hope you're having a wonderful day. How you've been, buddy? It's been a little while.
Yeah, man, I've been good. You know, I've been good. Just relaxing. Nothing too crazy. Same old, man.
Same old. You like relaxing, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, homie, so there's a lot to address in this here life, right? We're gonna be talking about, the conduct becoming a champion, if there is ever such thing, right? For example, are champions, or in general, any athletes supposed to conduct themselves in a manner different from, let's say, anybody else out in the world, right? Do athletes have a responsibility towards their fans, let's say in the sense of being role models, right? We'll be discussing that just on account of how most recently, I know you saw this about a week ago or so, Edgar Berlanga, the New Yorican, he and Canelo Alvarez had a press conference, and they were both doing some, should we say, scintillating hand gestures. I know it's made the rounds. I know you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
What were they doing? If you don't mind reminding us, what was Canelo Alvarez and Berlanga doing in the press conference?
With what your title implies, man. What your title states. That's what they were doing. We call that gay ass behavior.
Yes, behavior, right? Masturbating ghost and just like facial shots and an invisible woman, right? It was crazy what we got to see.
No, not invisible women. They were doing it to one another.
That's ridiculous.
If they're doing it to women, well, that ain't gay ass behavior. But what they were doing is they were doing it to themselves. Wow. You know, it's like a derogatory term that it's like you're a bigger man and you're making the other man bend over and you're slapping his ass and beating him up. Then that you're imposing your will. That's what Berlanga and Canelo were doing, bro. You know what I mean? Just straight queer shit.
So they were definitely doing some offensive things that I found to be curious. Like, for example, when was the last time you saw anybody acting this perverted before the cameras in front of the world? And what would motivate these guys to act in this way? In fact, what would
Well,
motivate
Broner and
Canelo?
Maidana. Broner and Maidana. That, my Broner, Maidana was whooping Broner's ass, and then Broner turns him, and then, he starts thrusting him in the back, again, just gay ass behavior.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, right, like when that fight happened, that was just spur of the moment. It was not planned. This was not the buildup of the Maidana versus Adrian Broner. It wasn't like they were building it up as a perverted kind of fight where they were gonna offend each other. They were just like, Mexican can get it, can man, or whatever, Broner was doing. They built up the fight naturally on account that these guys were very highly athletic, dangerous individuals that were facing each other, and they were gonna make a run for it. Now, in the fight, of course, it became very perverted. But what I mean, in this pressure between Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga, Canelo, Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan, he's the one who initiated the perversity, right? For no apparent reason or another, he just decided to say that, and he implied with these gestures, physical pantomime gestures of Canelo, acting like he had Berlanga bent over in doggy style, slapping him from the behind, whipping it around, and doing all kinds
Boom,
of stuff.
boom, boom,
It
bah.
was it was nasty. I couldn't believe it. Right now, here's one thing I just most recently saw. I'm not too sure if you were privy to this, but there was El Maromero Paez. Man, I can't remember what his first name was. But he used to be a circus clown, right? That he had boxistic skills, and he became a boxer, and he became very successful. He had a lot of great fights with a lot of legends. Hector Macho Camacho, Chavez Jr. I think he also fought Oscar De La Hoya. He fought everybody, right? And El Maromero Paez, he was being interviewed, and it's making the rounds because he said that a lot of people are hypercritical of Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan, and they expect him to just fight all the toughest names and just come forward and not implement boxistic skills. What he was trying to say is that people tend to expect the Mexican to just be a brute that cannot move his head and just always comes forward and throws punches without any kind of thinking behind it, right? And he was saying that Canelo Alvarez is a very serious individual. That contrary to him, El Maromero Paez, who was a clown, who one of his fights, he famously walked in there in a bridal gown, dressed in a bridal gown, walked up to the ring, dressed like he was getting married. He took it off, and of course, he ended up boxing incredibly, right, knocking out his opponent and whatnot. But he said Canelo Alvarez was serious. Let me ask you, homie Ricky. Is Canelo Alvarez serious? A serious individual to you? Or is he just like any other Joe Schmo that's just like a pervert, like a construction worker? Because if you've ever worked with a construction worker, you know how Mexican construction workers can be.
Yeah, look, the way I look, I think you're getting too deep into it, man. It's just
Really?
basic. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, bro, it's like these are just men acting like men in a fucking high level environment, bro. That's all it is. Like, it's just, they're going to say some stupid, toxic shit. And that's just what it is, bro. It's locker room talk. It's like, this is what I'm going to do to you, bro. I'm going to boom, boom, bah. You know what I mean? And then because it's fucking funny, bro. Like, that's all. That's the way I look at it. You know what I mean? It's puras mamadas, bro. So it's just good theater in terms of just like, all right, these are guys that are just talking shit. They're trying to up one another. You know what I mean? ¿Quién es el más macho? Remember that guy?
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. So I don't really mind it. I think it's pretty funny. And it's just, again, I'm gonna dominate you. So I think Canelo is taking this very serious. When he told, I'm gonna knock you out in 8 rounds. Yeah. Canelo doesn't really make predictions like that. You know what I mean? And so I think he's being very serious. He definitely wants this knockout. Because again, whether Canelo likes it or not, he is still competing against Turki Al-Sheikh now and that UFC Viva Mas in Mexico or whatever is at the, even though
UFC
it's different,
Noche,
even though
Noche
it's
UFC.
different sports, whether Canelo likes it or not, they are competing with him. See, Canelo is just downplaying it. Oh, they're gonna do whatever they want to do. But the UFC and company, they're like, no, I want to take these Mexican dates, which is why they're having it. Canelo should be playing hardball. And
Yeah,
Canelo has to understand you are the pillar in the face of boxing. Time
true.
and time, you're selling and you're doing it on your own. Do not let these people try to take your views. See, Canelo engaged Edgar Berlanga and this
Mhm.
back and forth, and it was fun and it was good. And ever since Canelo's learned English, it's just become like very fun, bro. I just watched like a little 1 minute snippet. I think he was with I don't know, it's one of those like YouTube podcasts. And I think his name is Big Boy. He's a black guy, tapelon,
Mhm.
like in,
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
LA. And
It
then
was like curse words with Canelo.
not that one, not the curse words for Canelo, but they
Oh,
were
okay.
asking him a question. He's like, "Hey, have you ever had to take a piss or shit, before the fight goes?" And Canelo starts telling this story, and I'm not gonna ruin it. You guys should watch it. But he starts talking
Okay.
about how like he has his gloves wrapped and he doesn't want to take them off, so he basically tells his boy or his assistant, "Hey, bro, fucking help me take a piss, bro." And it's fucking funny, dude. You gotta listen to it. It's hilarious. And yeah, man,
That
it's
does sound
it's
funny.
just good. It's good stuff. I don't want to ruin it. You guys have to listen to it for yourself. It's like a minute if you can find it, and it's comedy. And ever since then, it's like Manny Pacquiao when he was training with with his trainers. And I remember there was these stories that Manny Pacquiao would slap one of his trainers around, and there was a
Yeah.
time where he slapped him really hard because he gave him cold milk, and I guess he wanted warm milk. I forgot what the trainer guy, what his assistant name was, but a little shit like that. They're taking it serious, and it's just like, again, for some people it might be a little too much, but I just think it's just good times.
So, okay, so let me ask you though, because you said it was fun. You said it's fun. And he has to do everything to secure these states. He cannot allow a non-Mexican, right, Dana White, to take on Mexican dates. That to tell you the honest truth, it wasn't even Canelo the one who started the Mexican date thing. It was Money Mayweather, right? But because one, Canelo is the pillar that is really keeping the sport of boxing alive. For the most part, I would say that is right. And another one that's really stepping into the mix right now is, of course, His Excellency Turkey Ali Sheikh. He's the one who can also help to make boxing great again. But you also said that it was fun, and he has to secure those dates. Allow me to ask you, though, are these antics that Canelo is employing in order to keep interest in this fight, a fight that, of course, we know a lot of people did not even care for? In fact, let me just mention right here, devil in the details. He said that dude's weak. I thought he had skills, but he ain't shiznit. He says that Berlanga likes that Vergalanga. Now, of course, look,
La
yeah,
verga longa.
yeah,
La
Vergalanga.
verga
Okay,
longa.
that's, I don't like to speak that way, but that just means like long schlong, right? That's what it
Long
means,
schlong,
Spanish.
dude. He
Long
likes a long
schlong.
schlong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm not gonna, but what I'm trying to get at is this: is this the way for Canelo Alvarez to beat UFC, Noche UFC, and is it gonna bring ice to the fight, right? Because that's really what it boils down to. Like, he's been highly criticized for this year fight. They didn't want this fight. We've been asking for the David Benavidez fight for the longest of time. He offered us Edgar Berlanga for whatever reason or another, and he's going off against Turkey Ali Sheikh and Dana White and Noche UFC. They intentionally said that they're going against Canelo. Turkey Ali Sheikh said we're gonna eat him up, and that night. So they're going against Canelo personally. They're going against the Mexican dates in order to secure them for themselves. Is this the way that Canelo's gonna make it?
So I mean, this isn't the way, but in terms of this little feeder that they put on, but more of this is needed for Canelo and his career. In fact, these type of fights and this type of promotion is much needed in the sport in general. You get what I'm saying? What I mean by that is like a lot of people are critical about Edgar Berlanga. A lot of people were critical when Canelo fought Bivol. The reality is this: I like these type of fights for a lot of our pro fighters, the Edgar Berlangas. Edgar is a pretty good fighter. You know what I mean? He's not this legendary Miguel Cotto fighter, but he's got a little bit of power. He has a little bit of boxing IQ, a little bit of good skill, but he also gets hit. Since when do we not like that? I like people and these fighters that I know are going to lose because it makes it worthwhile. If I know some dude is always going to win, then I'm like, then what I'm like, even then, I still want to watch those type of fights. But what I like this particular fight is this. When Canelo fought Perro Angulo, when Canelo fought James Kirkland, even Amir Khan, who doesn't like good knockouts? Everybody likes good knockouts. You know what I mean? So it's always very interesting and very fun to see. And here's the thing. Yes, we expect Canelo to win probably under 8 rounds. But Edgar can learn so much. Just like Jaime Munguia learned so much. We knew Canelo was going to beat Jaime Munguia. A lot of us thought it was going to be by knockout. We also got to see Jaime Munguia showcase his talent and make a name for himself. Edgar now has this platform where he can do the same thing too. Where like Devil in the Detail said, you and me think, this dude is sweet. This dude sucks. Canelo realizes he's sweet too. That's why he's like, I'm going to dominate you, bro. You cupcake. You know, you sweet dessert. Like, he understands that. Edgar is the one now that has this platform and he's going to do his best to steal the show. For instance, let's say he gets knocked out, but he gives us 6 good competitive rounds. All right.
That's great.
Edgar, yeah, absolutely. Edgar is only 25, 26 years old. He can, or maybe close to 30. I don't know. Or maybe he's 24. I don't really know how old he is. But he has room and time for growth. So again, I would like to see Edgar Berlanga versus Jaime Munguia. I would like to see Edgar Berlanga versus Diego Pacheco. Edgar Berlanga versus David Benavidez. But I'm going to tell you this. If Edgar does his thing against Canelo, those fights that I just named, Jaime Munguia, Diego Pacheco, David Benavidez, Caleb Plant, they just became double or 3 times bigger if Edgar Berlanga does his job and give us a really good fight. If he gets fucked up in 1 or 2 rounds, those fights don't exist. But if he has somewhat of a performance like Jaime Munguia did versus Canelo, and I'm not saying going the distance, but I'm saying you gave Canelo a good couple of punches, maybe you busted his nose, those fights that I just listed, now they just became bigger fights.
Yep.
So
I
again,
agree.
I don't mind these fights. In fact, one of my favorite Canelo fight is the James Kirkland fight.
I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, Kirkland had been off for 2 years basically.
That's
he goes
sad.
in there 3-4 rounds and he's fucking pushing Canelo up against the ropes, and we had 4 knockdowns. But I was like, bro, how can you not become a James Kirkland fan after that? That shit was mad entertaining, short and sweet. It was like a short film that was really good, and I was thoroughly entertained. They
know the road. No, you're right. They know the road, right? They know that you're not gonna be fresh and active and timely with your punches. You know that he's nicely warmed up and he's taking on this experience, and he's let you lay out in the counter for 2 years. You ain't got nothing but a puncher's chance, and you have to give it all 100% for as long as your energy holds up. James Kirkland knew the assignation. James Kirkland knew the homework. And in fact, I was going to mention that to you. That is not a very bad strategy. Unfortunately for Kirkland, I don't think he ever recovered from that. I don't think he ever came back from that defeat. But then again, guess what? He got paid handsomely, right? For his sacrifice. It really was a sacrifice to take on one of the best fighters at that moment. I forget who he had just fought in that, like Miguel Cotto or something to that
probably
effect,
like
right?
Glenn Tapia or some shit. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he still has a 2 year layoff. He has these personal gripes with that lady Fox. I don't know if
And
what
Wolf.
was her, Ann Wolf there, and Fox, Ann Wolf, and then they barely rekindled their relationship in order to take on that fight. The background story of that fight was spectacular, more so on the side of James Kirkland. And then, like you said, he went in there for 4 rounds, gave it 100%. He got knocked the hell out, right? But he was pushing and rocking Canelo. What did he do? He just says, I have only one chance. I have the puncher's chance. And I agree with you, homie Ricky. In the case of Edward Berlanga, I don't have any issues with him fighting. Edward Berlanga climbed up the ranks. Whether you think he's skillful or underserving or is too young for Canelo, it doesn't matter, right? David Benavides chose not to employ his mandatory status. Canelo decided to forego employing that, taking on that mandatory, and he chose Edward Berlanga. He suffered the consequence. He will be stripped on the date that that fight happens, so that even if Edgar wins, he will not be undisputed on the cheap, right? So he went through all of the sacrifices, and now we can expect a Mexican versus, I don't know, what would you call it? New Yorican, Puerto Rican, what would you call it? Oscar De La Hoya would say he's not Puerto Rican.
Yeah, no. In the traditional, here we go. In the traditional sense, Edgar Berlanga is not from the island. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Much like
yeah.
Oscar de la Hoya is not from Mexico.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
but again, but again, I don't care about that shit. I'm not one of those people that are like, oh man, you're not Mexican enough, or you're not Puerto Rican enough, or you're not American enough. I don't give a fuck about that shit. Like
well,
what
you know,
all
here's
I
the thing,
care
homie Ricky.
all I care about is this. I want a good fight. I want it short, sweet, and brutal. That's it. Short, brutal, and sweet. If you can give me that, that's good. If Berlanga's able to land a couple of body shots, maybe one uppercut towards Canelo, and he gets knocked out in 4 rounds, hey, at least he fucking went out on a shield. What I don't want to see is Edgar trying to run like Shakur Stevenson. I'm not interested in that. You know what I mean? And the reality is this, like, anyway, keep going. I'm gonna just keep it at that for right now.
Well. So, look, the reason why I believe it is important to make the distinction of whether or not Berlanga is or is not a Puerto Rican is because of this, right? The Puerto Rican contribution to the sport of boxing has been incredible. It really has, right? The last time that I had counted on championship fights between Mexico and Puerto Rico, which are, of course, the most bitterest rival. I don't know of any other peoples that have, or cultures that have as big a rivalry as the Mexicans and the Puerto Ricans, right? The Puerto Ricans have been on top of it's like it's almost neck and neck. But the Puerto Ricans, as of maybe 4 years ago, I remember, they still had more wins against Mexican fighters in general, I believe, maybe not just championships, but in general fights in total. Now, you got to understand the island of Puerto Rico probably has about 2.5 million people. Mexico has like 230 million. We're talking about like 100-fold difference, right? And Puerto Ricans have had more victories over the Mexicans in fights, especially of the championship fights, as of 4 or 5 years ago that I last checked, right? So when we say a Puerto Rico and Mexico rivalry, you are talking about the highest stakes, most important fights for these two cultures because they've been going at it for generations, right? So if they're able to convince the world that Edgar Berlanga is a Puerto Rican and he's fighting a Mexican, homie Ricky, you'd be remiss if you didn't admit that that right there is a seller. That thing will sell just out of itself. All the Mexicans will rally behind Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan. All the Boricuas are gonna side on Edgar Berlanga's, you know, and then there's gonna be people like me and you, right? That we're probably gonna go for root for Edgar Berlanga just because we love upsets. So it's
No, I'm
no.
not rooting for Edgar Berlanga.
Why not? Oh, because he bites people in the ear, huh?
No, like what I'm trying to say is I see a dude that hasn't earned the opportunity. He hasn't earned the right to this Canelo fight. So I'm not rooting him just for the sake of rooting for him. No, I like live underdogs. Like this dude has done the opportunity. He's fought the tough fights to get into position, and no one's giving him a chance. I like those type of underdogs. I don't like somebody. Now, again, it'd be nice to win the lottery, but more than likely, in this particular case, Edgar won he won the lottery. He didn't
Yeah,
earn the proper, like he didn't fight the proper fights. He hasn't given us, quote unquote, the eye test against other competition that gives me the confidence and to root for them. On top of that, I don't even like the guy. You know what I'm saying? So if like, to Devil in the Details point, he's a weak fighter. You know, he should have fought Caleb Plant. He should have fought, I don't know, a Diego Pacheco, but he
yeah,
decided to have the path of least resistance and just played his cards and the long waiting game until Canelo, hey, pick me, pick me. Like he said, I've been dreaming of this dude. And Canelo's like, oh, it's nice that people dream about me. You know what I mean? Like he was just clowning him, bro. He was
uh,
clowning him. You know what I mean? And it's just, and
hilarious.
that's what of course you're dreaming that Canelo gives you the call and then you're going to answer it and bend over backwards to get this fucking fight because you haven't fought the real fucking killers to get into this position. So I'm not going to root for him because what is there to root for? I don't want to condone this type of behavior of fighters just, taking the soft touches, keep my record intact, undefeated, and hopefully one day Canelo gives me the call. That's why I can respect David Benavidez moving up and fighting Volsdick because he could have lost to Volsdick,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
A much bigger man who has who has better overall experience against Artur Beterbiev. And that's what I like David. That's why he's earned that shot. He fought Caleb Plant, X, Y, and Z. Edgar is the antithesis of that. He didn't do that shit. He just stayed there, and Berlanga was just like, you know what? I'm a dream. I'm going to keep dreaming. I'm going to keep praying to the Santa Muerte that Canelo gives me that call. And then, boom, I'm going to blow out my candle at night. And, that's what he did. So, like, I can't root for that because then I'm going to be rooting for other fighters to just be like, nah, bro, preserve that O. Circumvent the toughest fights that can be possibly made, and then you get that fucking big mega fight because then you're not developing fighters, you're developing businessmen, right?
yeah. No. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, listen. All right. Look, the reason why I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, you're reading that. Okay. Well, let's go for it. The Adi Medi, good
Funny.
moral to you. Good moral to you. I hope you are well of health and state of mind. Mr. Vince Vargas, howdy to you too, sir. Devil in the details. Thank you for hopping along, man. Yep. Yeah, and as you know, like I just mentioned to you, man, I know you've been waiting patiently on some of that work, on that 70 Impala, and yeah, I'm happy to report to you that as of yesterday, right? I got my son. I taught him how to cut and butt, uh, and I made him do everything basically. Cut and butt, clico, manipulate metal, how to secure it in place, how to. Basically, he's the one who put on your floor pans on the trunk of that 70. So now I'm happy to say that the trunk divider, the floor pans, and are done. And now we're going to be hopping onto the floor pans and the rear seats because they are in a bit of disrepair. Remember that we had purchased the wrong pieces and we ended up buying the divider instead. Luckily, the divider had some rust. It wasn't that bad. It could have been salvageable, and at the end of the day, you can't see that part. But since you had already bought in that brand new piece of it and said, okay, let's just slap it on. So we've done all of that work right there. I would say your time frame of having that car ready to go in 3 years is coming along just fine. Yeah, so don't worry too much about what's happening. I assure you that we are working when we can. but good moral to you too, homie. So the reason why I wanted to work on that, bring up the angle of whether or not Berlanga is a Puerto Rican, is because in the case of myself, right, a self-proclaimed Chicano, the self-identification, it really does matter to me, right? So a couple of days ago, guess who? Remember, you and I, we had a very great episode on gatekeeping. We had an episode on the gatekeeping of Devin Haney and Mr. Bill Haney, Trill Bill, going around telling the Mexican American people and other Latin-looking individuals whether or not Ryan Garcia was La Raza, right? And all of these guys were allowing this guy to gatekeep a black man who has nothing to do with the brown individuals, who has nothing to do with how they live. He says basically he knows how to tell what a raza is, which basically means a person that's proud of their brown cultures or whatnot, their brown pride. He said that he felt inclined to talk about it because he had a Mexican neighbor. But that doesn't mean nothing, buddy. Mexicans have nothing to do with La Raza. They have nothing to do with Chicanos, right? Except, of course, that's just where our people from the forebears come from. But otherwise, that does not mean you can gatekeep another people's cultures or their upbringing or their beliefs. And in the case of Oscar de la Hoya, he was doing that exactly. He was gatekeeping and saying that Edgar Berlanga is not Puerto Rican. In fact, let me just read it to you. Boxing News 24, titled Oscar de la Hoya slams Canelo versus Berlanga's Mexico versus Puerto Rico branding. It was written by a gentleman by the name of Dan Ambrose. I respect that because at least he put up his real name. And it reads, promoter Oscar de la Hoya criticized the September 14th designation of the Canelo Alvarez versus Berlanga fight as Mexico versus Puerto Rico clash. And he points out that Berlanga is from New York, which makes him American, not Puerto Rican. So first off, that part right there, right, makes him American, not Puerto Rican. As of last count, if I'm not mistaken, Puerto Rico is a satellite of the United States of America, right? In 1898, the Treaty of Paris, which ended the Spanish-American War, right? Spain seceded the island to the United States under such provisions of that treaty. And in 1917, Puerto Rico became a U.S. territory, and its people became U.S. citizens. So first off, right, Oscar de la Hoya is erroneous. He's mistaken when he says that Berlanga is not a Puerto Rican because he was New York, and in fact that makes him an American. Well, in fact, just being born in Puerto Rico would make him an American. So he's acting like Puerto Rico is some other nation in and of itself. It hasn't been a nation, an independent nation since hundreds of years when Spain still ruled that territory, right, that island, and then they gave up that landmass. They gave it to the Americans, and ever since then it's been a territory and recognized by the U.S. as a territory of the U.S. So they are by default America. But what I'm trying to get at is this: Puerto Ricans are in and of itself a culture. They have their own slang. They have their own ways of viewing the world. They have their own culinary practices. They have ways to distinguish themselves in order to survive, which is basically what culture is about, right? Now, do we know if Berlanga practices the cultural exercises of Puerto Ricans? Well, that would really be the question, right? We know that
I would say so. I would say so.
Well, we know that his parents, right? The Edgar Berlanga's parents are from Puerto Rico. Now, in the case of you and I, homie Ricky, we are Chicanos, but we also employ a lot of the practices of the Mexicans, right? We continue to hold on to some of these religious denominational beliefs like Catholicism. We speak Spanish in fluently. We eat foods that are traditionally Mexican, from the beans to corns to nopal leaf. We do all of those things, right? We were raised speaking Spanish by Mexican individuals that came here to the U.S. For purposes of work, and they stayed here. Now, being raised in the U.S., we actually, of course, learned how to be Americans, and but we never severed our affinity and our upbringing that our parents taught us. So it's a cultural extension. To be Puerto Rican, just like it is to be a Chicano, would mean that you adhere to some of the practices of your forebears. And if we know that the Berlanga elders taught him Spanish because he speaks Spanish, if they practice the same kind of things that they do in the culture, Canelo, Oscar de la Hoya would be so wrong in saying that an American like Edward Berlanga is not Puerto Rican. And in fact, he goes on and says that he is more Puerto Rican than Edward Berlanga just because he married a Puerto Rican and lived there for 6 years. Can you believe that? I mean, this is gatekeeping to the max. Oscar de la Hoya is definitely a person that is very creative, and the way he offends people and how he's trying to take a little digs at the Canelo and at the same time Berlanga. But man, oh man, like you just pointed out, Oscar de la Hoya wasn't even born in Mexico. He's contradicting himself by pointing out the distinctions, and I just think it's so foolhardy on
No,
this
it's true.
individual.
It's true. I would agree with what Oscar is saying, that he's more Puerto Rican than Edgar, because
What?
again, no, no. Listen, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's like, let's say an American person that was born in Missouri, right? His name, I'm gonna call him John Kyle, and John Kyle decides to move to Michoacan, right? He don't know Spanish, only speaks English. He just bought some land over there, and he decided to live there for 10 years. He lives among the people, maybe creates jobs over there. He starts to develop the language, eats the food. He's probably more Mexican than me because I've never lived in Mexico.
Of
Yeah,
course.
you get what I'm saying. So, and he's, let's say he married a Mexican, a Mexican woman over there. So again, so what Canelo Oscar is saying in regards to Edgar, he's absolutely right. Even though I might speak the language, I was born, and we got to visit some of our relatives over there as well, whatever the case may be. I would say John Kyle would be more Mexican than me because he lived there, he knows the culture, and I
Yeah.
have more of a broken down traditional culture where we try to hold on into, the teachings of our grandparents that, were from La Tierra. You know what I mean? So yeah, Oscar is correct. And to my knowledge, being married to a Puerto Rican woman, I don't even think Burt Lange is married to a Puerto Rican woman. So yeah, absolutely. I would say that Oscar is right about that. But instead of saying like, I'm more Puerto Rican than you, like a fucking kid, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Why don't you fucking tell Berlanga, or why don't you teach Berlanga how to fuck up Canelo Alvarez? Because like
Yeah.
he said, he's only saying that to make this fight less impactful, and just fucking take a dig at Canelo's opponents and his opponent's selection. But why don't, if you have so much disdain towards Canelo, go teach these fighters how to beat Canelo, if you're really trying to get really under Canelo's skin, like Andre Ward was teaching Caleb Plant to beat you. So you know
That's
what I
true.
mean? So that would be much more like, okay, now he's really after him and he's showing his intent. Because that's where it all stems from. You know what I mean? Oscar can't keep his mouth,
Shut.
Canelo's mouth, like his name out of his mouth. So it gets really
Yeah.
annoying. But like, again, like this type of shit, I don't really care about, bro. Like, as
Yeah, no, no. Look, so you've made some very good points, right? I can call myself a Chicano because I know that the Mexicans suffered differently from the uh, Americans of Mexican descent, right? I know that. That's why I don't call myself a Mexican, right? I've visited Mexico. I know how they live over there. Well, it's been a while, right? But I wouldn't call myself a Mexican. So there has to be a way for the Puerto Ricans to distinguish themselves as people that adhere to the cultural practices of their forebears, the islanders, but that were born and or the majority of the time live here. And I don't think New Yorkican is an appropriate term, because a lot of the Puerto Ricans nowadays, they don't even live only in Puerto Rico. They live in Massachusetts, they live in Florida, they live in New Jersey. So I think maybe they should come up with their own term that would imply that they come from the island, but at the same time that they are uh, continental Americans. In fact, maybe continentals would be a nice way for the islanders to say that they are from Puerto Rico, because we have the continental U.S., which is this massive landmass that you and I reside in, and then there is the island territory. So maybe they should come up with their own term. I do love my Puerto Rican people; they're incredible, right? So yeah, so I think you made some great points for me, Ricky. That would be masterful if Oscar De La Hoya wanted to get into the wrong side of Canelo by putting his reserves to try and teach Berlanga how to get to that Mexican legend right there. That's incredible. Yeah, but no, you make some great points right there, homie Ricky. I just found it to be ironic that
No, it
Oscar was trying
definitely is
to gatekeep.
ironic, but I what I don't like is Oscar knows that feeling of being an outsider, and people are criticizing him, like Fernando Vargas. Vargas, when he was telling Oscar, and all of these people were saying that Oscar wasn't Mexican enough, and he's a güero or gringo, whatever the case may be. I would have expected Oscar to be one of the last persons to gatekeep and put that
Mm,
stamp on people. Oh, you're not X, Y, and Z enough. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I know when people were criticizing him when he won gold medal and all of these things, it was like, nah, you won it for America. You didn't win it for Mexico. You know what I mean? So like
Mm,
I would expect Oscar to not put those blinders on and basically, cast this type of segregation towards his peers. I think it's just not fair, bro. And that's literally how the roots of gang norteños and sureños started. So it look anyway. So I would whatever, bro.
yeah,
Like when it
we're
comes
not
down to
gonna be talking about gangs
no,
right
I
here.
know,
That's
but that
ridiculous.
type of shit though, that type of stuff is what that caused that diversion. You know what I mean? And that's what Oscar shouldn't be saying shit like that because like, at the end of the day, bro, Edgar Berlanga, he's very sensitive, man. No,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It just like
No,
I
he's
don't
very
know, bro.
sensitive.
You know what I mean? They got to protect the Berlanga, man. So he's already got a tough fight coming for him against Canelo, where Canelo's promising a fucking 8-round knockout. I mean, if this dude was dreaming this opportunity to get a fight, imagine when that dream is telling you, "I'm gonna fuck you up." Now, like someone's got to check the pulse and the nails of Berlanga, making sure that he still has some left, bro. Because the nervios are getting to him, man. I know it is. I know it is.
And just to further along just to further along the asininity and the ludicrousness of Oscar De La Hoya and his
Yeah.
disdain for Canelo, let me just read to you
That's what Bill
this.
Haney was talking about too, though, bro. That's why we went so deep in on Bill Haney because he was with his like they're trying to bring and the boxing's always been like this, right? They're always trying to bring street politics into a fucking sport. They do the same thing in the NFL. If you're a Niner fan or whatever the case may be, and you're rocking a flamed out red jersey, it's the same thing, bro. It will never stop. They do it with the San
Yeah.
Francisco Giants and the Dodgers. That street political thing, they always bring it into sports, bro. That's what it is, and that's what Oscar is pandering to. But I'm gonna say this when it comes down to Oscar, though. He's probably done more for the sport in terms of Mexicans and Mexican Americans than
Mhm.
any thoroughbred Mexicano. More than Juan Manuel Marquez in terms of making millionaires. You know what I mean? How many millionaires has he made of Mexican Americans? Not just Mexican Americans, but straight up Mexicans. You know what I mean? Look at the Williams Zepedas, the Camarones. He's done such a great job building and being that pipeline to
Mhm.
somewhat of a stardom. Not everybody like Camarón is going to be, you know, $100 million or whatever the case may be. But he's done wonders by them, more so than Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., more so than Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera. Oscar has been that dude, and a lot of
Yeah.
people give him a lot of shit for it, but not
Well,
me,
let's
man.
talk about it, right? Well, except for him, of course. Oscar
Ah,
De La
man,
Hoya
you
did
want to talk
much.
about this? Well, I thought
No,
you
no,
were gonna
no.
shit on Shakur.
He. Except for Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya has done more for Mexican and the Mexican American fighters than even Canelo. That's just the
Yeah,
fact.
absolutely, bro.
So we when we do talk about the opinions of a legendary Hall of Famer like Oscar De La Hoya, we have to give him some give him, we have to really understand that when he says something, we have to validate it, but we also have to see to the cap, like for example, I think he's being capped when he's talking about Edgar Berlanga. Partially, right? Because, like you say, there is distinctions between living in the city of New York and living in the island of Puerto Rico. But he's capped when he says that he's more Puerto Rican than a guy who has Puerto Rican mother and father, who obviously taught him the cultural practices of Puerto Rico, even though they were detached from the island, living in New York. That doesn't make Oscar an expert at all things Boricua, right? But he also goes on and says other things, and he's very smart at the way that he stabs people, right? Like whenever he jabs a person, whenever he's joshing with a person, he's very clever. For example, look at this. Just a few days ago, there is a report on Boxing News 24 written by oh my goodness, I hate it when they do this. Nation Vegas, right? Nation Vegas, right? This guy, girl, whatever, named Nation Vegas, and this is the reason why I dislike these pundits whenever they take on names like the case of Warp Speed. Look, when we don't reveal our names, it's usually because we want to say something that may not be professional or otherwise maybe a bit disrespectful. We don't approach things that way, right? We try and be as honest and as respectful of everybody. But when people write it down, right? When you and I speak something, people just think we're just talking heads. When somebody takes the time to write something in a newspaper or an article on the line, people tend to provide those guys with more reputation and credibility than, let's say, a commentator that just speaks on the airways like you and I. But this guy is unable to put his real name out there to attach it with his opinions. Nonetheless, it's titled "Why Gervonta Tank Davis is the Gold Standard for Fighters," according to Oscar De La Hoya. He says that Tank Davis is so beloved by boxing fans worldwide because he actually, quote unquote, fights. He goes on to say he's willing to put himself in harm's way to score knockouts and entertain the fans, right? So, look, this is what he says, quote, "He's very skillful, a beast, and knows how to figure you out. The one thing I love about Tank is what I love, and this is why he's going to be great, because he fights. When you fight, you're going to get hit, and when you fight, you're going to get hit, and you might get knocked out. But that's the beauty about Tank. He fights, and that's why they love him. That's a perfect example. Tank Davis is a star," said Oscar De La Hoya. Now, we have been very critical of Gervonta Tank Davis, like most people have, right? Because I think in the case of Gervonta Tank Davis, we do know that he's a very skillful fighter, right? But he's never taken on the toughest names. He's never taken on any undisputed former multi-division champions, standing champions, defending champions, except in the case of Jose Pedraza, that was over 7 years ago, nearly 8. He's always catch waiting these guys and so forth and so on. And somehow, Oscar De La Hoya says that he is the face of boxing and the gold standard because he fights. Listen to the genius behind it. He says that he's the face of boxing. And we know that's not the case. We know Canelo is the case, right? We know that that he's the face of boxing. Secondly, we know that Canelo takes on way better caliber of fighters, which is something that Gervonta Tank Davis hasn't done. It's good to look like it's easy to look like the face of boxing, where you're taking on soft touches, that you're manipulating the weight class and divisions and the conditions of the fight, right? For the most part, I don't think Canelo has done that in years since he severed relations with Oscar De La Hoya, right? And thirdly, he says that he fights, almost implying that Canelo Alvarez fights cautiously, like he doesn't go in there to give it 100%. Homie Ricky, is Oscar De La Hoya a genius?
Sorry, bro. You caught me on a bite.
On the bite? On the bite. Oh, sorry. So what I'm saying is,
No. I listen. I heard.
yeah,
I think he's a genius.
yeah.
You know. Well, hold on. I think,
Hey, a genius, Oscar.
yeah, I mean, come on, he's not a genius.
Hey,
Yeah,
I almost got you though. I almost got you.
Yeah, no, I'm not
You almost said he was.
dude, bro. But what
Yeah,
I'm saying
yeah,
is, when it comes down to the sport of boxing, he is an auteur. He knows this world, bro.
yeah.
You know what I mean? He knows it, and he's done
Yeah.
great. He's the only fighter, right, that has competed with the likes of an Eddie Hearn and his $1 billion takeover with the
Yeah.
backing of the zone.
Mhm.
He's the only fighter that's competed with Top Rank and established his own network with Showtime and has continued to prosper the sport of boxing forward. Oscar De La Hoya, he passed the torch to Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao was already big, but when Pacquiao beat Oscar, 10 times bigger. Same thing with Floyd. Floyd wasn't really known. He had a fan base, but when he beat Oscar, he became the face. Oscar has done great, from competing and shedding blood, sweat, and tears in the ring to promoting the biggest of stars of Canelo, Keith Thurman, Deontay Wilder, the Charlo brothers, Ryan Garcia. In terms of boxing, he's a modern day genius. In terms of boxing, you know what I mean? He's a madman, and he does it great, and he's continued to do so. Now, that's all I'm gonna say about Oscar De La Hoya. So I think when it comes
And
down to the
he's
sport, he knows
responsible.
the craft no better. Dude, this dude's a gold medalist. So he was
Yeah.
able to do it as basically a child. I think he was like 19 years old, 17 years old, whatever. But basically a child, still in his teens, to win gold medal, right? To become an amazing champion and to become ultimately an amazing promoter. He knows what the fuck he's doing. And in terms of boxing, there's no one more credible than Oscar De La Hoya. That's just a fact. Now, when you were talking about Tank and Canelo and all of these things, honestly, the biggest mistake that Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney do, honestly, is they actually try to become and fight the best fighters. That's their problem. Because what I mean by that is a lot of Black American fighters, they get so much credit for doing the bare minimum. We're Mexicans. Like guys like Canelo Alvarez, they have to knock the block off you to get the respect of Mexican fans and Black fans. Oh, you got to learn English. You got to do this. You got to dress like this. You got to go onto our podcast. You don't ever see Shakur Stevenson have to knock out people. People give him so much credit as a master boxer for winning 7 fucking rounds. But Canelo, oh, he has to dominate dudes. He can't force to run because el orgullo, the expectation of a Mexican boxer and what the Mexican fans want, it's literally fucking sinful to give us the performance that Canelo did versus Triple G Part 1. They'll fucking cast you out like a leper and disembowel your system, bro. But with Canelo, with Shakur, Devin Haney, and Floyd, the expectation of the Black American athlete in the sport of boxing, it's bare fucking minimum. That's a fucking
Whoa.
So wait. So when it comes down to Tank Davis and Deontay Wilder, oh my God, these dudes are the faces of boxing. How? They're doing the bare minimum. Devin, like Shakur, should not be fighting the Edwin de los Santos of the worlds and shit like that. What they should be doing is fighting easy ass fighters that they could knock out. Not these Artem Haritanian dudes that are actually pretty good or anything like that. Go fight dudes that you can knock out. You know what I mean? That's what people are gonna give you all the most credit, because people want knockout artists. Look at Deontay Wilder. The dude has one of the most overrated resumes, but the dude is loved like he's some all-time legendary fighter. Bro, they made a statue of him in Alabama.
Yeah.
Why? Why? What did he do? What has
So
he
so
done?
so what you're saying in essence is that the Black American fighter gets a lot of consideration from their fan base, and a lot of that consideration allows for them to put on very boring fighters, very boring fights, whereby there's a different standard for the Mexicans. The Mexicans have to take on the toughest fights, and they cannot have an easy fight. And the Black American fighters fans will be very considerate and understanding, but the brown Mexican fight fans, they'll be harshly critical of their own. That seems very cultural, right? That means I don't have any kind of problems that the black fight fans support their own. Why are the brown people so divided on the way that they credit their own fighters? That seems like a standard Mexican Mexican beef between each other, right? We know that Mexicans always beef with Mexicans, and they're always finding a way to be harshly critical of each other. Like, for example, we know that Marcus, we know that all of these Nacho Bernstein, we know that all of these fighters from the past are highly critical of Canelo because he's not a come forward aggressor. Even though I believe he is, he's always standing in your pockets. But yet you hear Shakur Stevenson, Andre Ward, and Terrence Bud Crawford, who, well, not in the case of Terrence Bud Crawford, he's never been a safety first type of individual. But for the most part, everybody else, they are always backing each other up. I think that's also cultural, though, right? That's just, hey, the way that people approach their fanaticism in support of each other. Now, that is, of course, a double-bladed sword, right? Because double-sided sword, because, you know, at the same time that you're accrediting these fighters, you really have to cap a lot, because they may be winners, but they're not exciting. And because they're not exciting, they're not getting the respect or the acclaim of the massive global boxing world, right? Because a lot of the times, people will respect a person like Sergey Derevyanchenko that just went balls to the wall with Christian Mbilli, who ended up lasting 10 rounds, 6 of those rounds fighting with just one hand because something happened. But yet everybody else, if it was black fighter, they would understand if they just played the safety first and started circling around for the whole night. That's what you're saying, right?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Look, guys like Sergey Derevyanchenko, he won't get the attention of the masses because when they look at his resume, it's like 15 wins and 6 losses. But they don't take in consideration that it was Jamal, fucking Carlos Adames. They don't take in consideration that it was Danny Jacobs or Triple G or, you know, Mbilli back to back to back to back. No, this is where guys like Sergey Derevyanchenko should fight dudes that they can knock out, because what's going to happen is same thing like Triple G. Triple G is another fighter that he's really good. His skills are really good. But you know why he never got knocked out in his professional career? Because he didn't amount to great things. He only fought in one weight class, the middleweight division. And in that middleweight division, the best ones was Canelo Alvarez, and that was a 154 fighter who fought Cotto at a catchweight. So he wasn't even a thoroughbred middleweight. Had Triple G gone up to 168, had he gone up to 175, guess what? I guarantee you he touches that deck. He gets dropped. But because he stayed at one weight class where he is the biggest puncher, probably one of the biggest fighters at that weight class, of course he's never going to get dropped in his amazing 40-0 run that he had at middleweight. Of course he's not. Where guys like Canelo doing it in a 6 weight class, like Pacquiao doing it in his 8 weight class against much bigger, larger men, yeah, they're gonna get knocked out. Triple G, just like Andre Ward, just like all of these dudes, they get so much credit for doing the bare minimum. I will stand on that 100%. Guys like Tank Davis, guys like Jake Paul. I'm gonna exclude Jake Paul, but I always like to bundle these dudes up because they get so much credit for doing absolutely nothing, for doing what
Mhm.
the every other fighter has been doing, like guys like Sergey Derevyanchenko, and no one gives them credit. You see what I'm saying? So again, what these boxers need to realize is this: they don't care who you beat. At the end of the day, they're not really going to care. What you need to do is build a big ass fan base, and that's why I'm not so against this fight, Canelo versus Edgar Berlanga, because at the end of the day, is this: if Canelo were to fight David Benavidez next, and let's say he knocks him out with a couple of body shots and some uppercuts, they're always going to say, "Oh, but it wasn't against Artur Beterbiev or the winner of Bivol."
Mhm.
Oh, I guarantee you he won't knock out Surdo at cruiserweight. They will always push the boundary. But I guarantee you this: if Canelo knocks out and sleeps Edgar Berlanga, where he starts making Berlanga twitch and his legs like Montiel when Nonito Donaire hit him with that left hook, I guarantee you 37 million people on social media is going to spiral all around. And that's
Yeah,
where Canelo's going to get revered. And that's where they're going to recognize that physical prowess that if he had fought like a David Benavidez or an Alexander Vosdik or a Bivol where he's going to struggle, you know what I mean? They're not going to give him the same praise of him knocking out that person, of Edgar Berlanga.
true.
So that's why
Of
Tank
course
gets
not.
all of this. Absolutely. And that's where that media lies and manipulation of guys like Triple G, Wilder, and Tank Davis and their resume is oversaturated and overinflated, and they give too much credit for doing the bare minimum. Look, I'm not saying these guys aren't great fighters. We all recognize the eye test, right?
Yeah,
But could Tank knock out Lomachenko when Lomachenko was on that tear, and when Tank Davis was a champion? I get
never know.
at 130 or whatever the weight class it was. I guarantee you he probably doesn't. The motherfucker
Yeah,
was fearful. To bro, you spoke Lomachenko, dude. I guarantee, bro, he just wanted to turn his face around and be like, bro, don't mention him, bro. Oh my goodness, bro, that right there, that is dangerous to me. That was Tank Davis, bro. Like it was,
yeah,
they couldn't even say the same sentence. It's like, no, we're promoting this fighter. So how you gonna give this man so much credit for doing nothing, bro?
yeah. No, no, no. You're
Congratulations,
right.
you knocked out
Yeah.
Ryan Garcia. Okay, but what were the stipulations? You made him cut down to a weight class he's never been in. You put a rehydration clause on him. You told him that he can't wear the color pink because your grandma's favorite color was pink and you didn't want to hit your grandma. Bro, like it was so much stipulations that it just didn't make any sense, bro. Again, they get way too much credit for doing the bare minimum, where the Mexican fighter and these other foreign fighters have to fucking fight with broken fingers and blind eyes just to get the credit and some type of recognition. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're making some good points. You have to commend, commend and respect the steadfast support that the Black American fight fans have for the most part their own people, and you also have to be very critical of the brown and Hispanic fan base being hypercritical of their own. But in the case of the Hispanics, Latinos, and whatnot, I respect it because at least maybe it is some type of self hatred or just envy of their own. But I also think that at least they allow for a lack of bias. Like for example, I like the fight fan that can be of whatever creed, denomination, nationality, and whatnot. But if he sees a great fighter and they beat their own or one of their own, they give him credit and say, "Hey, that guy's the goods," right? So I just like the kind of fight fan that cares not so much about their own people, but cares about who's entertaining them, who's dominating. And in the case of entertainment, well, of course, we know that the people that come over here to brawl and knock out people, not only are they entertaining, but they're the most dominant. The best way to win in the sport of boxing is through knockouts. That's just a matter of fact. Pointing your way
Yeah,
out there like in
but
the Olympics, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, right? In fact, I made What
I don't mind
I
that people do that. Like if like you're Puerto Rican and you want all the Puerto Ricans, you only support Puerto Ricans, that's fine. But what I'm saying is when we're on the cusp of talking about the best fighters in the world, right? When we're talking about the best fighters in the world, understand that your fighter is just here for business and entertainment. And then there's real fucking fighters that are fighting the real tough fights, and you have to put them in a different system of their own. You get what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
So that's the way I look at it. It's just like I don't care if you want to be like, oh, I only support my people, only watch my people. All right, then cool. So then just understand that you don't know the whole entirety of the sport of boxing and that you're
yeah,
biased, and that's fine. You can do
yeah.
whatever it is that you want to be. You're biased, but when we're talking about the same fighters, and you're trying to coin and make Tank Davis the face of boxing, understand that is disrespectful to the real faces of boxing. I don't care that he's popular. I don't care that you think that he sells. I don't care that you think that he's the motivation for your life and it gives you purpose and you can back him and you can win all of these online arguments. I just want you to realize that what a real fighter looks like is not usually a fighter that has an undefeated record, because they don't have that same standard of these other guys that are moving up, fighting pound for pound fighters, moving up in 3, 4, 5, 6 weight classes against the best. And of course, they're
And,
gonna take a loss along the way.
and
That's
homie
all I got.
Ricky, and
That's all I want to say.
case in point, Derevyanchenko. Did you know he has barely, as of yesterday, he has 21 official fights? And have you seen his resume? It's
Crazy.
incredible. It's
It's
incredible.
a great resume.
He. I think he fought Triple G when he had 14 fights. Danny Jacobs when he had 15 fights. It's stupid. These guys are undefeated knockout artists or some of the most highly skilled fighters. He doesn't even have 20 fights under his belt, and he's taking on those kind of names back to back to back.
And the
That
crazy part is this: he's only doing it like fighting one time a year as well.
and he's 38 years old. He fought
Imagine if you
Christian
kept
Mbilli.
him active. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Imagine if someone kept him active. That's what I'm trying to tell you, bro.
Yeah,
These dudes in the sport of boxing, they don't recognize the real fucking fighters, bro. They need these fighters like Edwin de los Santos, Sergey Derevyanchenko. If they had political ties and they took off soft touches, they would knock out guys like Edgar Berlanga. You know, they could possibly beat Jaime Munguia in between. But if you fucking put them on a shelf, you know what I mean? At the end of the day is this. People know that Sergey Derevyanchenko is an amazing fighter. Look at the fight that he put up against Triple G, Jamal Charlo, Danny Jacobs, Jaime Munguia. That's probably one of the best fights of this decade. Him and Jaime Munguia. That happened, I think, 2023. Why can't these promoters sign this dude? Why they refuse to sign this dude? Why don't they want to keep him active? This dude is one of those gems that you can put on any single fight night, and he's gonna upset so many fighters. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Guys like
Yeah.
Edwin de los
Remember,
Santos, he'll knock the block off Rayo Valenzuela, who just beat Pitbull. Why don't you try to sign him for pennies on the dollar and build him up? Bro, there's these gems, amazing fighters that you can get for relatively cheap, and you can build them into great things. But no,
yeah.
everybody wants to suck on the nuts of Shakur Stevenson, Eddie Hearn, for
Whoa,
example,
whoa, whoa,
because he
whoa, whoa.
doesn't know what the fuck he's looking at.
Whoa. We can't. Let's try not to speak like that, right? We're adults, we're Christians, and we have people around the world that do listen to us, and we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. Homie
All
Ricky,
right. But I mean, look at
okay,
your title though. Willy
what?
Whips and
No. Well, it's true. They were woolly whips. They were absolute woolly whips, right? What they were doing, woolly whips is just basically, like I'm not gonna describe it, but it's what Canelo was doing to Edgar Berlanga, right? But but going on, right? Now that we're talking about Shakur Stevens,
wait, hold
after
on. So ID Medi goes, y'all need to go live during the fights. I like to hear y'all take during the fights, because as a noob, sometimes I don't know what to look at, forward angles and stances. Yeah, man. El Pachuco probably I forgot which fight it was. I think it might have been Ryan versus Devin Haney. I forgot which fight, but El Pachuco
yeah,
wanted us to go live, and we ended up going live for one of the things. It was pretty fun, but usually we do like little fight parties. So
yeah,
everyone is talking, nephews and nieces are running around. And I got a bad experience, man. My dog, my puppy, he knocked over my laptop, and
Oh
ever
yeah, that's
since
true.
then, my laptop's been acting up. So I don't know if I'm gonna be
And
doing
ever
that
since then,
anytime soon.
and ever
But
since then, you haven't gone live because of
and
your
ever
laptop.
since then, I haven't gone live because I can't, basically Photoshop nice looking thumbnails and give you guys somewhat of a good presentation, because on my phone, this iPhone, I don't really, it doesn't give me all those templates that my laptop gives me, and I can't bring my desktop over here at work and stuff, so I can't really do all that. So it's killed my vibe, at least to somewhat having more of a presentation for you guys and put, I don't know, classic vehicles or amateur boxing in the background rather than just still images. So that's why it just killed my motivation, man. And my laptop is an old ass laptop, bro. Like it's from 2011, where you can put your CDs and DVDs, and it's a great preserved laptop. So it's really difficult to take it to an Apple shop and be like, yeah, I'm gonna fix it up. But anyway, man, I don't know. I want to interview Ruben Villa, but not just like an interview. I want to, in the background, put his fight that he just had on ESPN in which he lost, or even a fight like when he beat Alberto Venado Lopez. And I want to just break down film with him. And then I just want to like hit mitts with him. I want to do stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I'm interested in doing stuff like that. Film study with actual pro fighters. What went wrong? What could have been better? And things of that nature. Talking about and commentating fights. Yeah, but there's a dime a dozens like Paulie Malignaggi, and most of the time, if Timothy Bradley and Sergio Mora aren't, fucking reading us off a script and their agenda, when they're just being balanced, they're giving you real deal Holyfield knowledge. But when they have like, oh my gosh, look at this guy Ryan Garcia, he's so good looking. He gets all the girls in his big social media. When he's doing all
Yeah,
that weird shit, it's just like,
yeah.
oh, I'm like, what are we doing, bro? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that is many of the reasons why I admitted that we haven't done live play-by-play narration. First off, a lot of people do it, right? Um, I assure you that there was two people, because I've been following the boxing channels for a very long time. There was a individual. His name was Speak Your Mind Sports Talk. And Speak Your Mind Sports Talk, he's no longer around. He's been out for like nearly 3 years. But when he used to go live and he used to do play by play, man, you did not have to have the TV on in order for you to imagine what's happening in the fight, because this guy was calling the fight punch by punch, foot angle to foot angle, round by round. He was doing an incredible job. The next guy to do as good of a job as him was Showbiz the Adult. But Showbiz the Adult has now taken this step back from that, because he has to cater to a lot of the growth of his audience, and a lot of people do donate money to him. So he has to address these things while they take away from he doing the play-by-play or commentary. He does great color commentary, right? But there's channels like and I respect these channels. I'm just gonna say it: Boxing Beats and Rhymes and Ring IQ, that they don't do play-by-play narration, right? They just don't do that. They wait and they are talking through the thing. You're not getting a good visual image of what's going on. You do have to fight. I mean, you do have to watch the fights while they're commenting, and all you can basically do is chime in and say who you thought won that round. But if you want somebody to do play by play, I assure you, the homie Ricky is excellent at that, because he knows the type of punches, he knows the combinations, he knows what's taking place, because he used to train and he used to be a boxer. In fact, he still does train. I've been trying to get him back into training. But homie Ricky is great at that. Unfortunately, the last time we went live like that, do play-by-play commentary, which he did an excellent job in, and we had all kinds of fun. We had all kinds of distractions, and his little puppy ended up destroying his computer. Now he can't go live. It's long story short, but hopefully one day we'll get back on doing that. Homie Ricky, uh, homie
Uh,
Ricky. So here's the thing, right? Talking about Shakur Stevens, right? Two
Shaker.
things that happen, Shaker. Two things that happened with Shaker. In the Turkey Ali Sheik presented best fight card in the ever taken place in the United States. In fact, one of the best fight cards ever. I would say all over the world. Turkey Ali Sheik was accompanied by Shakur Stevens, and the Los Angeles fans were very disrespectful. When Turkey Ali Sheik walked in there with his robe, of course, we know that a lot of people started to boo him. People were calling him terrorist, all kinds of stupid stuff, right? When Shakur Stevens stepped down, people started to boo him, right? Now, I found that to be disrespectful of fight fans, right? Because Shakur Stevens is also a private individual. We know he's a public individual, and this public persona, for the most part, will always take place in the ring. While in the ring, during the fight, before or after, hey, all hell breaks loose, right? If you want to boo him, boo him. If you want to cheer him on, cheer him on. But when he's out there in the street, let them be. They're people. They've done their job. They're trying to live their life, right? And these people were booing Shakur Stevens. Now, similarly,
Good.
a couple. Wait up, wait. No, I disagree. Right? I'm trying to set it up. Because they're private individuals. They're not in the ring. You have no reason or obligation to bring the sport, athletic, entertainment side into their own personal lives. Why? Because just a couple of days ago, somebody tried to do the same thing to young Devin Haney. For whatever you want to say about Devin Haney, I respect his pedigree. I respect his career. I think he made a big mistake taking on a perceived soft touch, and Ryan Garcia, he ended up paying for it. Now he's supposed to be coming back, but the rumor has it. I know you've seen the video. Devin Haney and his entourage, about 5 or 6 different individuals, were walking in some kind of a county fair, and they start jumping this one guy. The very first guy to instigate this fight is Devin Haney. From behind a wall of his own homies, he throws a jab, misses the guy by like a mile, right? The guy steps back, and then all of a sudden, 1 or 2 of his buddies starts throwing punches and pushing him towards the fencing that separates one, roller coaster from the next. They start attacking this guy. His buddies suck at boxing. And apparently one of the buddies, the main guy that was fighting this one guy, people are saying that he's a pro boxer. If that's the case, man, oh man, Devin Haney has been hanging out with some suckers, because those guys looked horrible jumping this one guy. There was like 6 guys. 2 of them started attacking.
Bro.
They can't fight. They can't fight.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, bro. It's like these dudes don't know how to fight. They can't fight. That's why they look, bro. I'm not trying to make this thing. I'm not trying to be this guy, okay?
No.
That's also what they do, bro.
Look, no. Oh,
wait,
God,
hold on. How many times have you heard the stories of them beating up paletero men?
Who's them?
The culture, bro.
What's the culture? What's the culture?
The culture. No, listen.
No. What's the culture? I want you to say it. I want you to be direct. If what you're trying to imply has any kind of,
the culture. When you talk in tongues, the culture.
No. Why don't you say it?
No, because again, I'll tell you why. Because when I grew up and I played football, a lot of my best friends were black. So I don't want to just put them all. But again, when they try to bring in, it doesn't matter. They can be brown people, white people, black people, whatever the case may be. When they bring in street politics into the sports, we become very ignorant and we strive with our passion. But we know that certain people, certain thugs, whether it's brown or black or whatever the case may be, in this particular case, Devin Haney and his entourage, they jumped one dude. His people don't know how to fucking fight. Devin doesn't know how to fucking fight, which is why he needs to learn how to box. And if he's not infallible, he's chinny. He starts to hold on. He makes sure that he has refs in his back pocket. That guys that can save his life. Shakur does the same thing too. Tank Davis, he can fight, but he don't really fight the real fighters. How many prospects does Tank Davis need on his resume? Frank Martin, that's a prospect. Frank Martin's a good little fighter, but that's a prospect.
Look,
right?
okay,
Mario
look. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna say the things that.
Listen. Mario Barrios is a good little fighter, but he was still a prospect. You know, he ain't a champion. Josh Taylor was undisputed. So he's an interim of an interim, whatever the case may be. So what I'm trying to say is these guys, right, don't really matter who it is. If the shoe fits, it can be any type of color. But in this particular case, Devin Haney and his fighters, the ones that are under his promotional banner, sometimes it can be Prince Amari Jones from Oakland. I don't know where this event took place. These dudes don't know how to fight, right? Which is
Look,
why
look,
they
look,
resort
look,
to
look.
boxing for
Let's
7 or
just
8
say,
rounds.
let's just
I'm gonna call it what it is. That's the
let
truth.
me be the guy who's gonna say what you're not saying. I'm just gonna speak the silent part loud. You're saying that these guys, the culture, you're
The
basically
culture,
talking about
the shit that
African,
Kendrick Lamar was talking about.
the
They
African
not like
American.
us.
Listen, relax. You're getting too excited, right? You're trying to
Might be
say
fine.
that the culture, you're talking about the black African fighters, right?
Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with saying that. Now,
I said that.
now, yeah, but here's the thing, though, right? Yeah, and of course, it's been making the rounds that a lot of these fighters, a lot of these champions, you know, like Devin Haney has been, he got up in this altercation, right? Shakur Stevens, a couple of years ago, he got up in a couple of altercations. He ended up hitting some guy behind the back. He ended up beating up on some girl, right? We know that Gervonta Tank Davis got himself caught up in an automobile accident where he crashed a pregnant lady. He took off. Now, when we focus on making it about race to point out that these people are bad and that's exclusive, let's just not forget that Ryan Garcia just acted like an idiot, a racist idiot at that also, and I don't know if he did worse than these guys. Obviously, these guys are attacking people, and Ryan Garcia, to my knowledge, he hasn't attacked anybody except, of course, verbally. But anybody, anybody of any color, any race could be an idiot, right? Now, my gripe, my problem, right, is that it doesn't make sense to me when we speak about Gervonta Tank Davis, when we speak about Shakur Stevens, when we speak about Devin Haney, especially Devin Haney. I am very disappointed, and I'm gonna explain why. Devin Haney, in my opinion, has been fighting some of the best fighters, taking on some of the best names, win or lose. He's been keeping his nose clean. He's had a great upbringing. His father was always there. He put him into the highest levels, the highest echelons of boxing. He made him an undisputed fighter. These guys are multimillionaires. These guys have an opportunity, right? An opportunity to become role models, examples of how to be a successful individual for their people, right? And they go there and bring it make, like you say, street politics and make it street for no reason or another. Look, I do believe that athletes should bear some responsibility for their fan base because they have to understand that they are role models for some individuals. Ryan Garcia is not a role model for anybody. And in fact, Gervonta Tank Davis hasn't been a role model for anybody. He was choking out some lady in a basketball game a couple of years ago. Shakur
Yeah, I'm
Stevens
not
was
gonna lie
beating
to
a
you though.
person. They're not role models.
I
But
get what you're saying.
In Devin Haney's case, man, I'm so disappointed because he has made faith and family a bulwark of his upbringing, of his career, right?
I hear what
And
you're
now he's
saying.
leveling to that.
No, yeah, right. I hear what you're saying, and I get it, but I don't really put these fighters on that pedestal. I don't really put them like I don't care. Look, listen, bro. When I look at sports, I understand the symbolism, the tribalism, everything that comes along with it. But for me, I stay away from all that drama, all that noise. Right?
Yeah.
I'm aware of it. I understand the play. I understand what they need to do to sell, to cater to certain fan bases, to the culture, whatever the case may be. I get it, but to me, I just stay away from it, and I don't look at these dudes any better than me, or put them on a pedestal, or put them as role models, or care for them to do role models. All I care as sports, whether I'm watching baseball, hockey, basketball, or football, the best fight the best. Yes, I like tune-ups in between because if my 49ers are 13-0 and they have to fight the I don't know, the Green Bay Packers who are 2-14, they're still gonna fight because it's on the schedule. All I want for every single fighter is this. I understand that everyone needs a career and you guys need money. All I'm saying is just be active. You don't need 3, 4, 5 months to fight once a year. No, just be active, have some easy touches, have some tough fights, and have 40, 60, 80 professional fights in your resume. Not every single one have to be back to back like Sergey Derevyanchenko fighters where it's Gennady Golovkin, Danny Jacobs, Jamal, Canelo, Jaime Munguia, and Mbilli. Doesn't have to be that extreme if you're trying to have longevity. So I understand it, but it's ridiculous, bro. And as for your praise for Devin Haney, let me tell you this, bro. Devin Haney and his father, they understand politics more than anybody, better than you and me, and they know how to read. So what I'm trying to say is this, and they have money and resources. So what I'm trying to say is this, Devin Haney.
Well, they worked hard for it, though.
Don't give him don't give him too much credit because he cut in line. Okay, he didn't beat nobody good enough to basically beat Lomachenko's mandatory to get on the way of Teofimo and Lomachenko to become undisputed. Okay,
Jorge
he only
Linares.
beat Jorge Linares.
Jorge Linares.
Who is a good fighter, but he hadn't been the same for a really long time. So wait.
Still better fighters than the ones that Teofimo Lopez got.
The WBC is a product. It's a big problem in the sport of boxing, and they catered to Devin Haney's demands by making all that bullshit with the franchise belt. So Devin got in the middle of real fighters and Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. So I'm not going to give Devin Haney all this credit for, he fought the tough fights. No, he didn't. He didn't fight the tough fights. Okay?
He fought better competition than Teofimo Lopez. So, but again, we're going back. We're going back.
I'm not going to let, you can't say that because that's not true. So
yes, he did. What did he fight?
He didn't fight better opposition than Teofimo Lopez, bro. You're forgetting that Teofimo Lopez fought Sander Martin, who Devin Haney just got.
No. To get the chance. To get the chance to get Lomachenko's belts. We're talking about that.
Richard Comey.
And who's that?
Nakatani.
Who was that?
It don't matter.
I'll take Jorge Linares. No, I'll take on David Haney. I'll have Haney. No. I'll take on Haney. Listen, I'll take on Haney. No, I'll take on Haney. No. Wait. You're saying that Richard Comey is a better win for Lopez, and thus he should have gotten Lomachenko more so than Devin Haney beating the 3-time former champion and Jorge Linares. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So you're putting what Jorge Linares has done in his whole totality of career versus who Richard Comey was at that particular time when Tio knocked him out in 2 rounds. You can't do that. Because if you're trying to say, let's say
was Richard Comey the champion?
Hold on. Let's say Canelo's 39 years old. And this young kid from Mexico, let's just call him Diego Pacheco. Diego Pacheco fights a 39-year-old Canelo Alvarez. Are you going to say that 39 Canelo-year-old Alvarez is the same one that fought, I don't know, Triple G at the age of 29, 31? No, you'd be a damn fool. Of course, if somebody beats Canelo when he's already out the gates, they're going to put him on a pedestal. It's like, no, bro, he wasn't the same fighter that he was.
So no, you're right. Comey was champion, yeah.
It's a false equivalence, So Richard Comey was a really good, tough, physical fighter, and Teofimo just knocked him out, beat him to the punch, right? And he also fought Nakatani, and then he fought Lomachenko. Tio was on a fucking tear, bro. Devin Haney had
I know.
18-0 Pelucas down in Mexico, bro. So, you can't even, it's not even comparable. And the first time that Devin fought somebody his size, his age, his youth, his contemporary, now older fighters like Linares, Lomachenko, Rigas Prograis, when he finally fought somebody where he didn't have the advantages, he had such a fucking mental breakdown that he essentially retired from the sport of boxing.
Yeah. So
and
going
his
back,
no, no,
okay,
no,
going
and
back
he
to what?
lost
Wait,
so
wait, wait,
much
wait,
of
wait,
his
wait.
fight.
This is not.
Wait, wait.
This is not what I
Let me
was
let
gonna
me
say.
talk
Wait
right
up.
now,
I'm
bro.
not. My point was not to make this about Devin Haney.
Hold on.
What
And
my
he
point
threw a
was.
punch,
Wait.
and he's
That's
so
not.
mentally
Look,
scarred that
we're
he
redirecting the
missed.
conversation in something that was not supposed to be the case. The
Dude, you
point
keep
that I was
interrupting
trying to make.
the one
The
liner.
point that I was trying to make was not about Devin Haney's career or his record, or why I should give him credit or not. What I'm trying to
Bro,
say is one thing: we're not supposed to go and if you ever run into any of these fighters, you're not supposed to go over there and start making fun of them or taunting them or anything like that because they're gonna act like that. See, you decided to make it about Devin Haney and his entourage trying to beat up a guy, bro. If I'm with my crew, right? If I'm with my crew, first off, I don't roll like that. But if I had a gang of people that are my buddies, right, and some strange guy starts screaming out 31 and oh, 31 and oh, make basically no 31 and 1 or whatever, making fun of Devin Haney, a stranger, right? When you're with six of your buddies and you're a stranger and you're making fun of Devin Haney having lost, bro, you have no reason to feel like a victim when they decided when their buddies decided to support their homie and start beating up on you. No reason. You have no reason to go over there and bring the public into the entertainment sphere and you become the guy who Devin Haney's gonna fight. What do you think is gonna happen if you taunt a man out on the streets? The man's gonna beat up on you. Homie Ricky, you're not gonna, even you, who's not a professional, if some guy goes over there and you're with your lady and he just starts making fun of you for whatever reason or another, you're gonna fight. Right? What I'm trying to get
no.
at is this. What I'm trying to get at is this. You're supposed to respect these fighters just like you will respect a stranger. You don't walk up to a stranger and you just start taunting them and ridiculing them or anything like that. Because they're gonna respond. Because you ain't nothing to them. And when you're with your homies and you still have the gall, the nerve to make fun of them, don't expect to be playing the victim part or anybody's gonna play the small violin when you start getting jumped on by their homies, because that's what homies do. Homies are gonna support their buddy, and in fact, you'd be lucky if Devin Haney didn't beat up on you. He threw a punch that missed, and guess what? You're lucky because whether you believe it or not, that guy, whoever he was a fat guy. He was a
Hold
fat,
on.
chubby guy, and
Also, I'm
Devin
gonna
Haney
say
would have
this.
just put him apart. What I'm trying to get at, homie, what I'm trying to get at is this: in the case of Shakur Stevens, when he wasn't fighting and he was in the ring with Turki Ali Sheik, don't boo him because you had the opportunity to boo him when he was in the ring. When Devin Haney is walking with his buddies and his girlfriend, all they're doing is having a night out, trying to get online to get a Ferris wheel ride in. Don't make fun of these guys. You don't know him. They don't owe you nothing. And if they should respond violently, that's on you. It's your
Also,
fault.
I'm gonna tell you this, and it kind of goes for everybody. Just because these guys are boxers doesn't mean that these guys can win street fights. Okay, just because their hands are registered, okay, doesn't mean these guys know how to fight. It doesn't mean that these guys are going to want to fight. Just because Devin Haney is a professional boxer and he's a champion, it does not mean. You have to understand, they fight with gloves. Gloves hurt. So they have tolerance to hand wraps. And a lot of these fighters have very sensitive hands. If they didn't have gloves, they'll probably break their hand, their fist on your face with one punch. Okay? Now, I'm not saying this. If you're just an average Joe, and if you've never done wrestling, football, and you don't have no type of understanding of combat fighting, like chin tucked down and hands up, if you have those basic background things, you can possibly beat up a Devin Haney on a regular fight. Because he don't know how to do kicks. If you dip him, he don't know. This dude will freaking use the whole world and backpedal and retreat the whole fight. As long as you have simple, basic commands of breathing, these dudes. I mean, look at Devin Haney. When he punched that kid and he missed, he wasn't squared up. He didn't have a staggered stance. He didn't have a boxing stance. No, he was regular civilian clothes, and he just threw a sucker punch like anybody throws a sucker punch. Have you seen? I'm just this is a segue, but have you seen Caleb Plant fight, and this dude was hiding behind. He was fighting this black dude in Nashville, Tennessee, and he was hiding behind mail, like mailboxes. He don't know how to fight in a street fight. You take away the
Hey
gloves
guys,
from these dudes, and
hey
these guys
guys, if you
can't really
guys
fight.
look, I would encourage you guys to test it. Take homie's advice. Take homie's advice to start anybody.
So what I am
Start a fight with a
saying,
professional, guys.
so
I
what I am
assure you,
saying,
you're not
So
gonna
if
like the
Devin,
outcome.
listen. So what I'm trying to say is, if Devin is trying to play the victim card,
He's not.
okay, well, hopefully he's not, because you'd be a fucking idiot to lose.
He's
What do
not.
you think that fat chubby kid, about to get jumped by 6 dudes? What do you think he felt like? So what I'm
What do
trying
you
to
think
say
he
is
felt like?
like,
What do you mean he
so-
felt like he's the one who instigated? Why did he instigate it? He
listen,
thought that these guys. What I'm trying to get at, homie Ricky, is you're not understanding what I'm trying to get at. You're trying to talk about how you can fight these guys in real life because they're not street fighters. The street fighters are different from boxing. That's ridiculous. In fact, street
It's
fighting
true.
with a boxer, street fighter with a boxer is going to be street fighting without a glove to protect the opponent's face. If you've ever seen a bare knuckle fight, watch what happens in a bare knuckle fight. They actually have a little bit of padding. Wait up. They actually have a little bit of a fight. They actually have a little pad right there. And just the first punch that lands flush, they start bleeding like an MFer. Try that, guys. Try homie Ricky's. Take his advice and fight whoever. But
that
homie Ricky,
I can do takedowns. I can incorporate kicks,
and they could
all
too.
that stuff.
They could too. You think these guys don't know how to fight? Just because they dedicate themselves to throwing fists, you don't think they know how to kick or duck or ram or charge you?
So let me.
This guy's crazy.
Let me tell you this. Hold on. You think your son who boxes can just be any Joe Schmo off the street?
No, but he could fight. You think he can't kick?
Box is what I'm trying to tell you.
So he can't kick.
Listen, he can
Also,
throw
he
ones
can't
and
kick.
twos, bro.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So
Okay,
a random
he can
Joe
throw
Schmo.
ones and twos,
Hey,
bro.
listen, guys. A Joe Schmo can kick, but a boxer can't kick, right? Right? Okay. Hey, guys, listen to this guy. Homie Ricky, besides, listen. I don't think you're understanding what I'm trying to get at. I'm not talking about whether that guy could beat up Devin Haney or not. What I'm trying to say is this. When you run, if you ever run into these guys, please respect what they do, right? They're not your taunt boys. Just because you watch them on TV does not mean they are people that you can easily approach like they're your buddies or your enemies. No, they're strangers to you. Respect the stranger, all right? You want to boo these guys, do it. Wait up. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. This guy had no reason to go over there and try to taunt a stranger because a stranger will react. If homie Ricky is walking with his girlfriend and some guy starts making fun of him or pointing out or trying to pick a fight with the guy, homie Ricky is going to respond. Especially with these professional fighters. Please, ladies and gentlemen, respect our fighters outside the ring, all right? Outside the ring. In the ring, anything goes. You want to boo him, go for it. But don't boo these guys in life. That's all I'm trying to get at. Because if you do, hey, don't complain about the consequences after. But here's the thing, homie
what's
Ricky.
the context? What's the context between the kids? Since apparently
So this guy apparently, again, I'm trying to tell you, this guy apparently started to instigate, antagonize, better yet, Devin Haney by pointing out that he had lost to Ryan Garcia. He started saying something like 31-1, 31-1, just screaming out 31-1, 31-1. That's what he was doing. Now, Devin Haney could be like, all right, let me walk away from this guy. But there's cameras around there. If Devin Haney walks away from that guy, it's a catch-22. If he walks away from a stranger taunting him, to some people he may look like he's holding his head up high and being the bigger man, but people are gonna say he's a punk. That's the fact. This is the boxing world. This is the way that fans are. We disrespect our fighters. So what he done is walked up over there.
Listen, there was a fan a couple years ago that was pestering Keith Thurman. We saw the interview, Keith. We saw the interview. You told us you weren't ready. Bro, it's been 2 years. When you gonna fight Errol Spence? There was that chubby dude that was telling Keith Thurman, and he goes, I got injured, bro. You ducking, Keith. We saw the interview. Keith is a grown man. He was by himself, all of these cameras. he could have easily knocked. Well, I don't know about easily because he was hurt, but he could have probably thrown some punches and swung and knocked that dude out. The reality is, Devin, if a dude is telling you 31-1, yeah, bro, all right, we got it. You got it, bro. Ryan beat me 31-1.
God.
What is that? Are you calling me the N word? Are you calling me a B word? What are we talking about here?
I don't know anything.
If that's all the dude is saying, if that's all he's saying, then Devin Haney's a little bitch.
See, there you go. What did I say? What did I say?
Listen.
If Devin Haney walked away, he's a little bitch. Right?
Listen. No.
If Devin Haney, there you go. Case in point. You heard it, guys. I just proved it. The homie Ricky admitted. The American boxing fan is just like homie Ricky. Not if he walks. He's a bigger punk.
Listen, no. Listen. If Devin Haney, if that's what set off Devin Haney, that someone said 31-1, and Devin Haney wants and needs to beat up this dude just because someone said 31-1, Devin Haney's a bitch. But if the other dude was saying more stuff to him, and Devin's like, all right, bro, yeah, but I'm still a millionaire though. I still got a Bugatti. I'm still with my wife. Like, what we talking about, bro? I stood on business.
Look. Okay, you can, guys. You can do. Look, you can look. Just guys, if you want to find out how a professional boxer will act, walk up to them out on the street. Act like that. Act like. Listen, guys. Listen. What I don't think homie Rick is understanding, right? When you're an adult, act accordingly, right? If you're a boxing fan and you ain't involved in the sport, keep your mouth shut, right? Unless you're trying to instigate a fight, right? Like Charlo was trying to with Plant. Well, you're talking to a fighter. Whenever you're approaching a fighter, listen. Whenever you're antagonizing, listen. When you're antagonizing a fighter, those are fighting words because the fighter only. Hey, it doesn't matter. You're antagonizing a fighter, and it'd be ridiculous to not think that the fighter's gonna respond doing the only thing he does, which is fight.
Listen,
that's ridiculous.
Hey, why? But why is Devin only focusing on the 31-1? Why is he only focusing on the one?
We don't know what else he said. Listen, homie Ricky. Here's the thing: we don't know what else he said. That's a matter of fact. We know that Devin Haney's pretty chill, and in fact, Devin Haney, all he did was throw like a jab that missed like a mile away. It was just whatever. He really didn't mean to hit the guy, and everybody else was involved. They're the ones. He cannot account for his buddies' actions, right? What I'm trying to say is this, guys. Let's just boil it down real quick. Respect your fighters. Respect your fighters in and out of the sport, especially out of the sport, right? But here's the thing, though. It also is a double standard because between fighters, they can do it. They can disrespect each other all they want because that is the fight game. In fact, disrespecting fighters is one of the ways that you can get a fight in, right? For example, we know that Ryan Garcia basically talked himself into this Devin Haney fight. They've been going back and forth for a long time. He talked himself into this fight. Edgar Berlanga talked himself into this fight. All of a sudden, these guys are just going back and forth, disrespecting each other, and then they talk themselves into fight. Now, Shakur Stevens, right? Shakur Stevens, most recently was making fun of Luis Alberto Lopez El Venado after he lost to Angelo Leo, a former Floyd Mayweather Promotions fighter. He got viciously knocked out. He was laid out, stayed there hyperventilating or dry heaving or whatever, trying to catch his breath. His the dorsal part of his cranium hit the canvas 3 times if you look at the micro bounce. And he started to post on Instagram or X or whatever that he had won $12,000 on a bet saying that Angelo Leo was going to knock out El Venado. He started to announce it. He was laughing about it, right? This is Shakur Stevens, right? Now,
and this is the person that you don't want us to boo. Because
outside of no wait. This is what I'm trying to say. That's between them. That's between them. Because you're not a fighter. You guys are spectators. I'm trying to. This is what I've always tried to explain, right? That as the spectators, listen. Let me set up the question. What I'm trying to say. before you start guessing that you know. Because for the long time, you were just talking about Devin Haney and being a punk and being a little bitch when I was saying you're not even listening to what I'm trying to say, right? This short-term distraction of yours, right? Look, in those cases, yes, you can disrespect your way into a fight. I don't understand what Shakur Stevens was trying to do. He being a newly crowned champion at 135, granted a vacancy, right? And he is talking about a guy who's 3 divisions from him at 126. Well, 2 divisions from him at 126, right? He's making fun of a guy that gets viciously knocked out. Us spectators and boxers were different. I'm trying to say us as spectators that don't know about the politics, the day-to-day blood, sweat, and tears that these guys put in, all of that. You have to respect that they're better than you because you're not involved. Everything that the boxing fan that's never stepped in the ring does when they comment on the sport of boxing is, for the most part, speculation. They speculate on how a fight is made, on how much a fighter should get paid, about whether or not the fight that they took on an X day or otherwise is a soft touch or not, whether it opens up their careers, whether it's going to put them in the Hall of Fame. They speculate on every single thing about a fighter's career when they're not even directly involved. So I say, as boxing fans, we should be respectful. But between boxing fighters themselves, they're not going to play by the same rules because they're directly involved. In the case of Shakur Stevens, he was talking about a guy that he would never be able to fight in the first place because they're not even in the same periphery of divisions. But here's the thing: he was making fun of Lopez for having been knocked out. He bet on the Schadenfreude of Lopez. Now, it's been reported, homie Ricky, I don't know if you know this, but Luis Alberto Lopez el Venado, he suffered a hemorrhage of the brain after his knockout loss to Angelo Leo. As reported again by Mr. Dan Ambrose, I'm starting to really respect this guy, Boxing News 2024, former IBA featherweight champion Luis Alberto Lopez el Venado suffered a small brain bleed in the 10th round knockout loss to Angelo Leo last Saturday night, August 10th, in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Lopez is 30. He's recovering from a hemorrhage of the brain after being knocked out and losing to Angelo Leo. Now, he goes on to talk about, he makes this big deal about how the referee started to actually count to 10, giving a shot for Lopez to get himself up. And apparently that's really been the crux of the matter for most people, that the referee wasn't astute enough to know that Lopez should have been immediately waved off, because those 10 seconds would have been crucial medical attention that he could have received. Homie Ricky, the last time that we saw a fighter get viciously, and I don't even think he got viciously knocked out. He was stopped, but he wasn't knocked out. But he did suffer a brain bleed, was Alex El Cholo Saucedo in a fight of the year with Cepeda. What's his name? What's that fighter's name, homie Ricky? The first
he
name?
Had a couple. He had a vicious fight was versus Lenny Zapavinga, an Australian. Then he lost his title to Maurice Hooker, and then the guy that gave him the brain bleed was Arnold Barbosa.
Oh, Arnold Barbosa, fight of the year contender about 3 years back, right? And when
sort of,
well, there was knockdowns and there was everybody going back and forth, right? And
that was
Saucedo.
Lenny Zapavinga.
Okay, so Saucedo, he was defeated at the hands of that fighter, Arnold Barbosa. Both of them from down South California, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a very great fight, ultra violent. None of those guys took a step back. And at the end of the fight, it was determined that Alex Cholo Saucedo, I think he's from Tijuana, in fact, or he was raised there. I think that's where he gets the part Cholo from. He suffered a hemorrhage, and it was severe enough that he retired. The doctor told him that if he ever had a fight like that, he was going to die in the ring. So he retired, never to fight again. Both of these guys were very good prospects then, right? Now, do you, homie Ricky, do you think this is Lopez's last fight. We know that he's been in a couple of wars. We know he's not the most defensible individual. He takes a lot of flush hits, but he's never taken as flush a hit as the ones that he suffered at the hands of Angelo Leo, and he's never been knocked out like that, right? In fact, I don't think he's ever been knocked out. He took 3 bounces to the backside of his head, and he laid there motionless until what's it called, until he got medical attention. Homie Ricky, do you think we'll ever see that guy fight again?
Man, you, instead of just setting up a simple question, bro. Yeah, look, I
You
don't
mean
know.
I described to the listeners what happened, the history?
Look,
Are you
look,
saying
it's
that in
super.
context doesn't matter?
No.
This
You
guy's a
went
clown.
so much. You went so much. You were like, oh, the referee has been criticized because he's doing his job and doing his stand count and giving the champion an
That's
opportunity to
called
stand up and rise from
reporting.
the grave.
That's called reporting, you
Bro,
clown.
you're reporting people's comments.
You're wrong.
You're wrong. Listen, I don't know if Venado Lopez can come back. I don't know what his CAT scan revealed or the MRI. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to say from an outsider looking in if all we're reading is, oh, he suffered a brain bleed. I don't know if Venado Lopez has been interviewed. I don't know if he's still in the hospital bed, right? I think this fight happened a week ago. So we don't know what the severity of the issue is, but that doesn't sound good. The context that you gave us with Alex Cholo Salcedo, it's very difficult, to come back from certain things. And Venado Lopez has had a lot of very good fights where now he's usually knocking the block off people, but this time he's on the opposite end and never been knocked out. And I don't really know what to say when it comes down to them. Can he fight back? Look, man, it depends on the severity. I can't tell you that. From an outsider looking in, I would hope that he comes back. But again, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. You have to have a tune-up. Does he still have the same confidence? When a fighter loses in the manner in which he lost, do they still have it in them? Do they still have whiplash? And, are they the same confident fighter? It's very difficult to bounce back from defeat. And yes, he's lost twice or whatever the case may be, but it wasn't how he lost last Saturday. The other ones you can say that he was outboxed. This one, he was beat and he was knocked out, concussed, catatonic, could not move, just right there. So again, I don't really know I'm not his doctor, I know Marco Antonio Barrera, in one of his fights, he also suffered, I don't know, it was like a brain aneurysm, or he had suffered something on his brain. And a lot of people said that that's the reason why he retired. I remember hearing an interview with Edgar Morales on the Un Round Mas, and he said, like, no, that's what a lot of people think, but he was already thinking about retirement for quite some while, he said. That was just another reason. But no, he could have came back as well. So I don't really know, man. It's going to be very interesting to see Venado. Look, I'm not going to laugh or anything about it. I'm a fan of Venado. But he should have fought my boy Ruben Villa, who was his mandatory, who doesn't have that type of power like Angelo Leo. And he probably might have beaten Ruben, or he gets outboxed. But I know he ain't getting slept. In that aspect, he shot himself on the foot. Here's another thing. Luis Alberto Venado Lopez, he's the champion. What the hell is he doing fighting in the backyard of Angelo Leo in New Mexico?
Yeah. So, homie Ricky, that's one thing that I want to talk about, right? In the case of Luis Alberto Lopez El Venado, right? He's been the ultimate road warrior, right? Very much like Alexander Usyk, right? In the past 9 fights, they've all taken place in the opponent's backyard, whether he was a champion or not. And he's taken on some incredible names, right? Since in fact, his last fight that he ever had at home in Mexicali, I guess is where he's at, he fought a guy named Mauro Loreto. They fought Gabor Flores and Tucson, right? He fought he was undefeated. Isaac Lowe, 21-0, undefeated. Raul Chirino, 19-13. Okay, that's a soft touch. Jason Vargas, 20-10. Josh Warrington, He became a champion. Josh Warrington, 31-1. Mick
Yeah.
Connon, 18-1. Joet Gonzalez, 26-3. Rhea Abe, Angelo Leo. All of those fights as a champion. All of those fights. 9 fights in a row on the road. I agree with you. Why didn't he do what Nick Ball recently done? Recently, Nick Ball became a champion, and this is what I'm trying to get at, right? We as boxing fans have to respect our fighters because we don't know how long their careers will be. In the case of El Venado Lopez, he provided me years of entertainment, being the road warrior. And in fact, you probably will ask yourself, why be the road warrior? Well, there might be different reasons, right? The American dollar that he'll get paid over here in the U.S. will pay him much better than the Mexican peso. Right. Another thing is we also know that a lot of fighters, when they fight at home as champions, the butterfly sets in. They have all this incredible pressure to perform in front of their fight fans, and then that pressure can be debilitating to them. They can handicap them. They can make them inactive, and they subject them to losses. A lot of the fighters of Eddie Hearn, whenever they've had their backyard fights, they always lose. So some of these fighters are superstitious, right? But nonetheless, what I'm trying to get at is this. El Venado Lopez, he fought valiantly. He made it very exciting. He was a road warrior, and we have to respect him. Shakur Stevens, when he's in the ring and you don't like what you see, boo him. Outside of the ring, respect him, but don't complain if they come at you. Now, Nick Ball most recently became a champion. You know what he's doing? Nick Ball is taking on his first defense, and I believe this is not a mandatory. I believe this is a voluntary defense. He is fighting Alexis Rocha's big brother, Ronnie Rios. He's fighting Ronnie Rios in his back.
What you mean by that? Just because they look alike or what?
No, they're brothers.
Ronnie Rios and Alexis Rocha are brothers.
Yeah, they're brothers.
Just because they look alike, right?
No, they're brothers. They're from Santa Ana, California, and they're brothers.
Yeah.
Look, I'm reading this right here. One win has followed for the French contender from Santa Ana, California, Rios, the older brother of ring number 8 rated welterweight Alexis Rocha. He stopped Nicholas.
Right, dude.
They're brothers, bro. Yeah, no, I do my research, man. But yeah, I know it's crazy. And they look the same, and I was like, wow,
right.
that makes sense.
Fucking sibling, dude. What the fuck?
I did not know that. Hey, and Ronnie Rios is the older brother. That's crazy. He's like the little brother, right? But anyways, he's taking Randy Rios outside of the U.S. The very first time Ronnie Rios has ever fought outside of the U.S. He's going to take him over there to Liverpool so that Nick Ball could have a homecoming fight, right? Now, why don't these Mexicans do that? Why do Mexicans always sell their booty out? That's what I'm saying, right? And see, here's the same critical. No. We've always said this, right? We're very critical of our own, right? While other people may, in your opinion, may be lax. I don't think so. I know a lot of Black American fighters that are very hard on their own, right? They don't cap. They don't always just cheer their own because, it's like everybody, right? They just like good boxers. They respect everybody. I disagree with you in that sense, but I've always been very critical about the Mexican and Mexican American fighters. They sell their booty. Why did Lopez have to fight Angelo Leo in Albuquerque, New Mexico? Why is Nick Ball taking on a voluntary fight and nobody says anything? Why don't they demand that he takes a mandatory in another backyard? Why? Because they're suckers. Luis Alberto Lopez and Venado is a sucker. He's a sucker.
I would say this. What I would say when it comes down to Nick Ball, he just had a tough fight with Raymond Ford. A really good fight. It was nice, good boxing. At times, the fight broke out. It was good. So now, allow him to have a voluntary, Yeah. For Luis Alberto Lopez, I think they've all been mandatories, bro.
Yeah, they have. All
been back to back to back to back. And
that's what I'm saying.
And that I can't answer you that question, bro.
They sell their booty.
Look, I don't know, bro. Listen, because
they're selling their booty, bro.
Well, hold on. That dude, Rocky Hernandez, he fought YNW Melly. What's his kid's name that he just lost to Conceição?
Yeah.
The kid from Houston. That dude, Rocky Hernandez and Eddie Hearn's fighter, got a fight as a contender as YMW Melly's mandatory, bro. And it was in Mexico. So I don't know why Venado Lopez couldn't get that fight in Arizona or, somewhere down in Mex, or Baja California, wherever it is that Venado Lopez is from, Mexicali. I can't tell you this, bro. You know what I mean? It's very strange. I can't say, maybe it's that he sold his booty. I don't really know. I respect Venado Lopez, where I think he realizes, like, look, man, if I'm Venado Lopez, I'm like, look, Angelo Villa is a really good fighter. We're gonna make a good fight, but I need a mega fight. And the problem with Venado Lopez is he just kept waiting for Naoya Inoue. If you watch any of his interviews, he's talking about, oh yeah, I can't wait for Naoya Inoue to move up. All of these things. He should have unified with his fellow countrymen, with not Robeisy Ramirez, but Ramirez. He should have fought maybe Brandon Figueroa or Ray Vargas. That's what he should have done, because he should have been to Top Rank and the IBF and be like, look, guys, I fought 9 of your mandatories. You guys should give me 9 years of leniency to become unified or undisputed. That's what I would have done. But
Hey, homie,
I don't know, man.
yeah.
I don't know. I can't really
Let's
say
read a
that
couple.
he sold his booty, but I'm just like, damn, bro. He just... El orgullo de mexicano, bro, de dar buenas peleas. I can't tell you. I don't know, bro.
No, that's true. That's true. And then when they lose, they call them bums. So let's read a couple of these comments, because let's read a couple of these comments because they're hilarious. These guys are creative. Abner Ortega. When we were talking about why you should not expect to beat a professional fighter out on the streets, this is Abner's response. Man, this is genius. He says, just the fact that a pro trains twice a day and eats once is already an advantage for an average Joe. That is actually a very good point. That's true. Like, they're already starving. They're very tired. Yeah, you're right. I can see that point. Man, these guys are creative. Adi Mary says, you don't know the chubby guy situation. Maybe he lost a hell of money betting on Haney. Yeah, that is true. No, and that's the thing, Adi Mary. I'm not saying that they don't have, that the average boxing fan should not have any emotions or opinions on these guys. I'm just saying, when out in the street, just respect these guys. Like, they don't owe you nothing. They're not your friends. They don't have to be friendly to you, right? Just respect them, right? Because you never know, right? I mean, that's all I'm saying. Just respect the fighters. That's always been one of the trademarks of this year's show. Amner says, I tried starting a fight with Canelo, but he doesn't want me to get a payday. He puts a little music. I don't know what song that is. He must know I want payday. So I don't know what song that is. I don't know what that is. You tell me, Abner. Homie Ricky says, he asks, what will you do with that Berlanga money, I guess, right? Little house in the hill. And Abner says he'd probably spend it all in the hospital bill, because it's probably going to be a painful, long night for Berlanga. Abner, might as well tell David you make the same amount of money, less risk. I don't know what puñeta means. Can anybody tell me what that means? I think that's a Puerto Rican slang, Abner. Can you tell me what puñeta means? I don't know what it means. I would say it probably means something like
pan, no?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I know that when Mexicans say puñeta, that means they do something with their hands, right? Like, I'm not gonna imply there's kids around here. Yeah, that's crazy. I just wish Berlanga doesn't run like Charlo. Abner, I don't have one iota of belief that Edgar will run. He's not going to take a back step. I don't think he knows how to take a back step. I think Berlanga, he's forced to take a back step in a couple of fights, but I don't think he's going to move about. He cannot hope to outmaneuver Canelo. He has to go in there for broke and give it everything. In fact, I'm betting on it. That's the only way that he can have some success, right? No, these guys are talking about my birds. Well, they're my daughter's birds, and I don't know where she moved them. I think she's being very considerate. She took him to her room because she knows that we were going to go live. So yeah, sorry about that, Abner. I know you missed them. I don't know what kind of birds they are. I know they're lovebirds. Yeah, no, they're lovebirds. Homie Ricky, I know you have a couple of birds, but these guys are lovebirds. There's a girl and there's a boy, right? And the girl bird is abusive, man. It's she's abusive. She's plucking the feathers of the male bird. She attacks him all the time. I don't know if. Oh my
Damn,
goodness, it's horrible.
damn.
She's in abuse. Yeah, she's in an abuse. She's the abuser in an abusive relationship. I feel bad for the little guy bird. Like man, but he has to stand up for himself, man. Los pajaritos escandalosos. Yeah. I don't remember Hot Chicks. That wasn't that Rob Schneider. What are you guys talking about? Hot Chicks. That's crazy. And them Sander and Hot
No, no,
Chicks.
because you missed the part when they're talking about birds. Adi goes, "What you eating, Ricky?" And I'm like, "Sunflower seeds." And he goes, "I knew it wasn't Speed's birds, because he probably thinking like they're like eating food, you know." And he goes,
Yeah.
"It was you the whole fucking time." He starts laughing. And to me, I didn't know that they can hear. I know that like when you asked me a question, I had sunflower seeds in my mouth, whatever. And then he goes, "You sounded like Adam Sandler on the movie Hot Chick when he was banging the drums." Abner goes, "I'm missing the bird singing, and over here, Ricky in the background munching on seeds, those
Oh yeah.
canaries." So that's why we were talking about hot chicks and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
Abner, he tells you what that word puñeta means.
Yeah. 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 Um, homie Ricky, just a couple of things so we can wrap up this live right here. Did you get to watch
I wouldn't highlight
Christian?
that comment though, dude.
Oh, 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 wow, wow. She's not even that one. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so look, Eddie Meddy brings up a good question. He and in fact, I think Abner asked a question. He asked about a possible fight. Let me look for it. He brought up a very good, intriguing matchup. Um, Let me see if I can find it, Abner. I know you asked, and I was gonna address it, but homie Ricky just doesn't
Oh
shut up.
yeah, he was talking about
Oh,
Mbilli
Tio versus
versus
Catterall.
Mejia.
No, Tio versus Catterall.
Oh, okay, I must have missed that one. Let me see.
Yeah, who wins that one, homie Ricky?
Oh, yeah, Teal versus Catterall. Well, it depends. What I mean by that
Catterall's
is,
been looking very good.
I'm going to say this. I think Catterall has better power than Sander Martin, but Sander Martin is more like he's got better reflexes.
Hmm.
So it's interesting. I think Tio would have an easier time finding Catterall because Catterall doesn't move like a Jermaine Ortiz and a Sander Martin in terms of being, like very a fluid of feet. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're very slick, cat-like reflexes. Catterall is more like shoulder roll and just counter shoot with the paw shot too. I
Hmm.
think Tio would win, but what Tio and what Catterall? Are we getting Catterall off along like a year absence? Are we getting Teofimo of a long absence? Or are we getting them like, okay, they already had a couple of fights in between, whatever. Like context matters. So like, for example, I'm going to say this. When Jack Catterall fights Regis Prograis,
Hmm.
I don't know if it's this weekend or I know the fight got rescheduled and postponed because Jack suffered an injury. But Jack Catterall, it will have a hard time with Regis Prograis. Where I think Teofimo will knock out Prograis out. I think Jack is going to have a little bit of a hard time with Regis. He'll be better, but I think Regis will be able to find him. And, I don't think Jack is like precise, just like Devin Haney. So I think he'll beat Regis because he's a younger man, and I feel like Regis kind of overwhelmed to stay at 140, and he's also like
Hmm.
37, where Jack is 31. But I think he's gonna struggle a little bit. So I don't know, man. It just kind of really depends. Um, like if you look at it like this, right? Jack beat Josh Taylor the first time, but it was a very close fight, 7-5 either way. Teofimo Lopez dominated Josh Taylor 10 rounds to 2, and it looked
Yeah.
like he was going to knock him out. So Tio,
Yeah.
I think overall is a better fighter, and that's why I'm going to say that Jack will struggle with Regis Prograis. He might get a late KO because Regis is getting up there with age, and he's not been very active, but I think
Yeah.
it'll go the distance. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good way. Abner, I won't comment on that fight just due to the fact that, look, I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, he is a
I
mover for sure.
no, I did not watch Jack Catterall versus Josh Taylor's last fight. I never, I missed it. I can't remember why. And I know that a lot of people said it was a fight of the year contender. It was a very intriguing fight. It was very good. And even
Yeah.
the first fight, I just don't remember it. And I've watched a couple of other Jack Catterall fights. They're just not memorable. And I know that a lot of people say he's the next one up. He'll beat everybody. Blah blah blah. Whoop de woo. I know there's people out there. It's just that when I think of Jack Catterall, I could never remember anything about the guy. So I don't even want to provide an opinion, right? And in the case of Lopez, I respect the kid. I think he's a good fighter. I think he's limited in cutting off the ring, right? But like everybody knows these things. But I just won't provide an opinion. I will say this: if they fight, yeah, of course I'm watching it, even though I don't remember anything about Jack Catterall, right? But there was another fight that one of I think Eddie Meddy sort of proposed this. I'm trying to look for it. Well, of course, let's acknowledge that Abner said, win or lose, well, win now. He would like to see Christian Mbilli fight Jaime Munguia. Homie Ricky, what do you have in that fight? Did you watch Christian Mbilli fight?
No, I gotta rewatch it on ESPN. I haven't seen
Okay.
that one.
Okay, very interesting fight. Very, very interesting fight. And the reason why it's interesting is because you have to factor in context, right? We're talking about a fighter and Sergey Derevyanchenko. To tell you the honest truth, Sergey Derevyanchenko is probably one of the best Ukrainian fighters out there, and that's saying a lot because we have Sergey Bohachuk, we have Vasily Lomachenko, we have Alexander Usyk, we have Denis Berenchik. We have all kinds. We have this 6 foot something guy that I can't remember how to say his name. Right? He fights like at 140. Incredible fighter, and he has these height advantages. But Derevyanchenko, when you look at his name, we know that he could have beaten Danny Jacobs. He could have beaten Triple G. He could have been robbed in those fights. And last night he fought Christian Mbilli. Christian Mbilli is, if I'm not mistaken, 25 years of age. Derevyanchenko is 38. He just had a war and a half. Was last time out with Jaime Munguia, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't think he had a fight after that. He was almost gonna get stopped at that fight. And in the third or fourth round, I believe it was the fourth round, something happened to his bicep. I think he suffered some kind of a strain or a detachment of the bicep, very similar to what Canelo Alvarez implemented, executed, or caused, better yet, on what's his name, Callum Smith. Oh, Callum Smith, right? Now, from that round on, the fourth, fifth, and sixth, this guy was fighting with one hand. He was just fighting with one hand the whole night. And funny enough, Derevyanchenko, when he got hurt for 3 rounds, in my opinion, for 3 rounds in a row, fighting one hand, just throwing combos with one hand, he won those 3 rounds in a row. It was impressive because his arm was just hanging. He couldn't even use it initially for like 3 or 4 rounds to defend himself. He kept fighting, and of course, you know that a Christian Mbilli, we see a guy very much like a Pitbull Cruz, very much like a super middleweight Mike Tyson, peekaboo, come forward, aggressor, throws with everything, knockout artist, in fact. And he wasn't able to knock down Derevyanchenko, 38-year-old, a one-armed fighter that he was, taking bruises, he was taking punches to the body, but he was giving him back, and a lot of it with one hand. Little by little, he started to weather the storm. We saw Christian Mbilli start tiring out. Like I told my father, he goes, "Man, this guy's tough." I go, "Yeah, Dad, but if Derevyanchenko is able to survive past the 4th round, because a lot of Derevyanchenko's fights end early. If he's able to survive past the 4th round, he has a great opportunity to win rounds because the other guy throws a lot of punches, and if he makes him miss or he just weathers the storm, he will start winning a couple of punches because Derevyanchenko is good. But here's the thing. Derevyanchenko, because of the constant pressure, he was forced back to box, and because of his arm now, absolutely he had to compensate for the limited ability to offend, right, and attack. Now, Christian Mbilli and the scorecards. According to two guys, he won 9 rounds out of 10. One guy had him, he won every single round. I thought that Christian Mbilli lost 3 rounds to a one-armed Derevyanchenko. Maybe 4, because I'm telling you, Derevyanchenko was doing some good work in there. Now, it was a 10-round fight, and the whole time they were just talking about whoever wins can have a shot at Canelo, right? I don't see how, because it was not a 12-round fight. Homie Ricky, we have a fighter in Christian Mbilli that we just saw. He couldn't knock out a one-armed fighter that's nearly 40 years of age, who has fought in some of the best people in the world, who has been through some hellacious wars. He should have had him as easy pickings. In fact, a lot of people are mentioning how Tim Bradley was pointing out that Derevyanchenko was long in the tooth and he was going to be easy pickings. Now that you know that Christian Mbilli could knock out a nearly 40-year-old man that's been in so many wars back to back, where do you see Christian Mbilli?
Top 5 fighter at 168.
Okay. Jaime Munguia.
He's a force, man. He's a good up and coming fighter. You just got to fight much more high level guys, and that's the start. This was his test. It was good.
Okay, yeah, because one of the things that impressed me.
I haven't seen the fight, so I can't really mention so much.
Yeah, one of the things that impressed me was the lack of ring IQ from Christian Mbilli, right? Here's the thing: he's not a headhunter, though he does throw hellaciously to the head. He goes to the body also, so he diversifies the point of attack. But what impressed me the most was how Mbilli didn't recognize that he was fighting a one-armed fighter. He should have been attacking the arm that was hurt. He never attacked intentionally to exacerbate that injury. At this level of the game, when you have names such as Jaime Munguia and even David Pacheco, Berlanga, win or lose, Canelo, Caleb Plant, all of these guys, right? Does Christian Mbilli, not having taken out a nearly 40-year-old man, would you say that the fact that he survived and still won 9 rounds out of 10 fares him well? Or with the names out there at 168, do you see everybody giving him problems?
Yeah, because Canelo's getting older, man.
Oh, so no. Well, I mean, of course, he's gonna lose. He's gonna lose to Canelo should they ever fight.
It's just logic. I mean, this dude's close to 70 or 60 something pro fights. Like, it's only a matter of time. So, yeah, I think all of these guys, and they're moving, and Billy's with Top Rank, correct?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, so they're
well,
moving.
He's with a Canadian outfit. I think it's Eye of the Tiger, but it's Top Rank associated.
Okay, so is that Eye of the Tiger the same one that used to promote Sergey Kovalev with Kathy Duval, or no?
No, they're from Canada, so I think it's gonna be more like Stevenson, the guy who retired, and all of those cats, because they're the ones who take over boxing in Canada. It's just mostly focused on Canada, and in fact, it was a great event. That the one that they held last night. They're pretty good.
Okay, for sure. So I feel like, again, in due time, these are some really good fighters. But yeah, man, I think 168 is going to be a really good division for a while, as long as all of these guys stay and fight one another, bro. Like, there's a lot of good fights here. It's just, again, and we're just talking about Canelo as the top fighter there. I think all of these guys are going to surprise people. And they're just going to be 2 notches below Canelo. But as Canelo gets to 37, because he says he still got 5 years in him. I don't know. That's going to be pushing the line, because what does Mbilli look like in 5 years? Berlanga, David Benavidez.
I don't know. They look different from where they're at right now.
Yeah, yeah. Kerry, that's all I have to say. Like, I can't say much. I didn't watch the fight.
Well, you probably didn't miss much, but yeah, homie Ricky, you talked about the stuff that I wanted to talk about. I think I wanted to talk about Mbilli, Abdullah Mason. Yeah, I wanted to talk about Abdullah Mason. He fought another guy, hard name. Whoa, where he sat, right? And he looked spectacular. He ended up stopping his opponent in 2 rounds, dropped him. The guy survived, and he chose not to come out. Abdullah Mason, right? He says he's not. He says he has his eyes set on becoming a champion next year, or at least shooting for a world title in 2025. I don't know if the names that he's been taking on will set him up for a championship fight, especially when we know the kind of names there are at 135. But what do you think about Abdullah Mason? Is he the next guy up?
I like some Abdullah Mason, bro. I think he's a really good fighter. I always look at it like this when it comes down to young prospects like him, Tiger Johnson, not I was gonna say Boo Boo Carrington, Shushu Carrington, Emiliano Vargas. It's like when I look at these fighters, right, and you try to compare him and compare them and how they're gonna look at one another and things of this nature. He looks to be the most promising one, bro. Abdullah Mason. Emiliano Vargas probably is gonna be really good, but remember, him and Abdullah Mason are just 1 year apart. So these fighters have time on their hands. Shushu, I think he's 25, 28. Keyshawn Davis is 26, 27. He's older than Shushu Carrington is older than all of these dudes. The way I look at it is like this. How fast do you want to excel your career? You know what I mean? How quick do you want to get and to become a champion? In my opinion, yeah, Abdullah Mason might be ready to contend and beat some champions at 135 or 140. I'm not too sure what weight class he's in, right? Whereas Emiliano, he's got much more time. He's still got to work on his defense, but you see his skills, you see his speed, his power, his punch selection. These guys, his learning curve is incredible. But I'm gonna say this: out of all of those guys right now, I think Emiliano Vargas, Abdullah Mason stands the test of time. I think Abdullah Mason will be this version of Terrence Crawford right now, dedicated, clean-cut athlete. Emiliano Vargas, he's got tremendous upside as well. Potentially the next big face of Mexican-American boxing. But I feel like you have to politic and maneuver Emiliano Vargas. He might be a little chinny, bro. It's hard for me to say because he hasn't really been hit and wobbled by like a big puncher. I think he'll be a little chinny, a little sloppy sometimes with his offense because he's always trying to get the knockout. He gets it, but like where Abdullah Mason, he might be chinny too, but he never neglects his defense, counter punching, head, body, and toe, the jab. It's a complete package where like his learning curve is that much more. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. But yeah, Brian, I'm a big fan of Abdullah Mason and some of the fighters that he's fought and beaten. Everybody talks about like maybe Luis Lebron and things of that nature. That's a very good win. That's his most like popular win. But his toughest fight was against a guy named Angel Rebollar. Angel Rebollar fought in guys like Charlie Sheehy. He fought my boy not Luis Chavez, Justin the Stallion Cardona. And that was a tough fight. This dude's a tough fighter. And it was 4 rounds. And for those 4 rounds, he brought it to Abdullah Mason. Go look it up. Like, he was close. He wins 1 more round, it's a draw. And you can see Abdullah Mason versus Angel Rebollar. He was struggling because he was like, man, this motherfucker's a pressure fighter, and he's bringing it. But I need you to pay attention to this guy from Bakersfield. His name is Joel Iriarte, bro. He's like 6'1", signed to Golden Boy. Don't quote me on that. He might be with Top Rank. I don't know, but he's in or around that weight class. He's tall, and these dudes fought in the amateurs, and this dude dropped. Uh, it depends. It looks like he dropped Abdullah Mason, but I don't really think he hit him flush. Whereas Abdullah did drop Joel Iriarte. Anyway, man, it's a really good. I don't know, bro. I have like if I'm be like, hey guys, buy stock and keep betting on this kid. I'm gonna say keep betting on Abdullah Mason. And when Emiliano Vargas steps up and fights some dude with 25 wins and 2 losses, tread lightly. When he finally has his real test, you might be shocked and he might get dropped. He might even lose. I don't know. Again, the Fernando Vargas's bloodline it's strong. It's strong. It's a good one. You know, with his son Amado and Fernando Vargas Jr. But I think they can all lose. So that's all I gotta say about that. I'm gonna just be careful, but you know, I'll just my words.
No, no. The one thing that I like about Abdullah Mason is his mentality, right? He's been fighting 5 times last year. He plans to fighting 5 times this year. So far, he's gotten 2 wins. His last fight, homie Ricky, was a month ago, and he already took on another fight, right? He says he wants to be active. He's very smart. He says staying active is very important. I had 5 fights last year, and I'll probably have the same this year. We're staying active and utilizing our youth while we still have it. There's no better time to stay active than now. And he says he doesn't pay much attention to the praise, because that's one thing he has been getting. He has been getting the praises. You're not the only one that has been saying that he's the next turn. He looks like the next Terrence Bud Crawford. In fact, I've had people say that he looks a lot like Pretty Boy Floyd, and his implementation of great defense and aggression. And some people have even said Zab Judah. Homie Ricky, this is a 20-year-old, right? He hasn't even fought a former champion.
Yeah, that's a good one, Zab Judah. Yeah, but the reason why I would say Terrence Crawford is because Abdullah has really long arms. Like he's very rangy, and Zab probably has very rangy too. But that's what I'm saying. Like these kids can lose. So when Abdullah Mason fights like one of those credible opponents, now I'm not gonna say like Costa Tszyu, because that dude was like a silver or gold medalist, and he had a bunch of amazing knockout and punching power. I'm not saying that, but and I don't even know if there's another one in that weight class that exists in that particular weight class that can knock out Abdullah Mason. But you got to be careful with these kids, because at the end of the day, they still are kids. And we are giving them a lot of praise because they have the potential, but we fail to realize that these guys are not even in their man strength or have that experience. They're passing all of their tests with flying colors. It's knocking them all out. It looks incredible. Head, body, toe, jab, slick defense. They look the part. But again, bro, like when they fight that tough test that can take their punch, and they're like a Perro Angulo, or Antonio Margarito, just tread lightly.
Yep, we just saw that, and another young fella, Christian Mbilli. They stepped him up to a fighter who should have been or could have been a 2-time champion or a defending champion, and it was too much of a test. Abdullah Mason plans to fight for a title in 2025. Is what he speaks about, right? In this report, and we're just going to wrap up the live right here. Robbie Bannatyne on Boxing News 24. I've been referencing Boxing News 24 for a while now. They've been putting up some very good content. Titled Abdullah Mason Ice World Title in 2025 for explosive knockouts. He says that he steals the show. 2025 is going to be a big year for me, Abdullah says. I'm looking forward to coming back home to Cleveland, doing the job as I'm doing against whatever competition. There you go. Whatever competition. He's just doing his job. But he understands that it doesn't matter what competition, he's just going to do his job. When you get the work done, the work speaks for itself. There's no need for me to do anything else, cutting out names, going back and forth. As long as I'm getting the work done. The work done is probably what they meant to say. It's going to show for itself. The people are going to start coming around to you. It's what Mark Kriegel says. Absolutely. When they do, I'll be ready for it. You have to have a purpose behind every action you do, and you got to make sure it's a strong purpose, or your actions are going to come out and you as you want them to be. This guy, young man, seems very mature. I believe his father is his trainer. I know that the Masons, there's a few brothers. I think it's a family affair. I always love those relationships when the whole family is involved in the betterment of that family unit, especially when they're trying to become strong, fit, fighting individuals. Right? A lot of people have problems with it. The Floreses, namely Gabriel Flores and his father, they had that very bad night where a lot of people were very critical about Gabe Flores Sr. for having subjected his son to such incredible destructive harm at the hands of Luis El Venado Lopez. But nonetheless, we also have Teofimo Lopez, the Devin Haney's, all those other fighters that have Lomachenko's, who have been there at the corner of their children and made him the greatest out there. I really like Abdullah Mason. I really like the Mason family. I wish him the best. And most importantly, I hope that he keeps his nose clean. Don't let the distractions get to you. Stay past the rabble rousing. Hang out with your family. That's all you need. You don't need to be hanging out with the rabble rousers, people that are gonna, change who you are as an individual or distract you from the outcome of becoming a champion. As far as what he says, that he's ready for a championship title next year at 2025, homie Ricky, so many things can happen with the fighters that are there at 135 right now as champions. Shakur Stevens, he has to understand that he's talking about that guy. He's talking about Gervonta Tank Davis. He's talking about Lomachenko. He's talking about Dennis Berenchik. He knows that those are the names that he has to contemplate. Listen, can
Dennis
this guy
Berenchik,
become a
that's
champion?
who he's trying to go after, bro.
Yeah, but Dennis Berenchik, that would mean that he's going to remain a champion for a whole year. I don't think so. Dennis Berenchik is going to lose the next fight he takes unless he takes on an easy touch voluntary. But what I'm saying is this. At 135, just run the names. You know the names. 135 is a glamour weight, a division that's chock full of potential fighters. Abdullah Mason is one of them. Can Abdullah Mason become a champion realistically next year?
Realistically, absolutely.
Wow.
But is he deserving? No, what I mean by that is he deserving? I don't think so just yet, because again, he hasn't fought in an ex-champion, and he hasn't fought in some, like, he's a prospect going into the contender phase, probably now in the contender phase, and he's moving up there, like. But I think there's a fighter named Henry LeBron. I think he's from Puerto Rico as well. Really good fighter. There's Luis LeBron and Henry LeBron, and Henry just beat a really good fighter not too long ago. So what I'm trying to say, he would have to fight one of those type of fighters to see if he's really the goods. Now, Henry LeBron might be a welterweight at 140. I'm not exactly too sure. But what I'm trying to say is, yeah, in a year or two, I don't know about that, but like in a year or two, but he can definitely beat right now. If you give me a year or two, I'm going to say hands down. But I think right now, I think Abdullah Mason knocks out that Berenchink dude, for sure.
Yeah.
I would say even this.
He'll get destroyed by
maybe
Tank, and
Abdullah
he'll
Mason even knocks out Emmanuel Navarrete at 135 or 140. Just because Navarrete, like, he's still a good puncher, but man, you're only a good puncher at 130 and below. You're too sloppy. You show you're undisciplined. I can see him getting knocked out, but I can also see, Navarrete landing a couple of punches on Abdullah, and Abdullah's like, oh man, that's fucking grown man power. But nah, man. I think Abdullah Mason would be able to beat Dennis Berenchik right now. I don't know if I don't think they're interested in putting him up there against Shakur, Tank, or who the other champion was. But yeah, I think he can
Lomachenko, what a man, the level of disrespect.
Bro, see, that's a guy who might not be a champion long because he'll probably retire. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yep. I was gonna say Lomachenko, the way he sounds like he's gonna be very particular. Here's the thing: he's never been very particular, so I don't fault Lomachenko.
But Loma was talking that shit to Shakur. Yeah. Yeah, they were going back and forth on that one fight.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do it right now. Let's do it right now. He wanted to go
Oh yeah,
outside,
that
right?
was good, dude. Hell yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Lomachenko, I didn't know he had that fire in him, because he was like, yeah, I'm nice guy. I just want to fight. I don't want to fight no more. My dad forced me to fight. You know what I mean? But nah,
Yeah.
man, he showed that yeah. I think that would be great, man.
Lomachenko destroys Abdullah Mason.
Yeah,
I'm just
right
gonna
now,
call it
yeah,
out.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm just
Shakur,
gonna go out and
Tank,
say it.
but not Dennis Berenchenko. You know what I mean?
No, no, no. There's Berenchik. It's like the one. I can't even believe it's a Ukrainian. To tell you the truth, Abner says Abdullah is one of the most exciting fighters of this new breed of boxers. Absolutely, I love the kid. He says top rank development of prospects is one of the finest in the business, in my opinion. Yeah, yeah, uh,
Yeah, he's the
yeah.
best one for development.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Now, in the absence of Oscar De La Hoya and the stable of fighters he had, absolutely. Um, and he was educating me on what the word puñeta means. Puñeta, for a Boricua, it means it's happy. If he says it under an angry mood, puñeta means something else. It depends on the mood of the meaning. Yep, I told him that there's a word that Chicanos use. It's called orale. So if it's a good thing, you go orale, like oh man, that's cool. Or if it's something bad, like oh man, this guy just got arrested for blah blah blah. It's like orale, or like orale. That means let's go. It means whatever you say it in the intonation that you use it in the context. So context matters, homie Ricky. I know that you don't like context. I know that you just like me to just break into the subject without telling a little background story to set up why it matters. But context means everything. Homie Ricky, 2 hours and 40 minutes of chit chat about one of the greatest things about life, boxing. It's always fun, man. We can do this all day, man. But I appreciate every single one of you guys. I appreciate you helping me hold up the show, homie Ricky. I wanted to recognize our listeners today. Whoever's new that just felt coy and shy at commenting, don't feel like that. We are very welcoming here. We will speak about harsh truths. We're not gonna ever get racial, but we will talk about matters that concerns race, always from a place of understanding and respect. Eddie Medi, good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for hopping on. Mr. Vince Vargas, howdy. I hope you are well of health and sane of mind. You too, devil in the details. We've been working on your Impala. Don't sweat. Don't sweat it. We've been working hard at it, and by the time you see that car, it's going to be a work of art. Abner, always, mi hermano, thank you very much for hopping on here and, of course, providing your content, bringing us these very good opinions. You are you're an incredible addition to our show. I appreciate that. In fact, homie Ricky, we did not talk about it, but a couple of weeks ago, I did mention on my community page that you had celebrated 1 year of going live. You know, your channel, in fact, is one of the oldest boxing related shows. For about 10 or so years, you've held that channel. You walked away from commentary to focus on your own scholastic aspirations and your athletic ones. And just recently, we started to come back on, right? A year ago, we celebrated. Well, your channel celebrated going live. I've been going on live for almost 6 months now. But I did provide comment and did provide my gratitude to men such as Eddie Medi, Vince Vargas, Trudy Trey, and Abner, because these guys are making us better, man. Right? Abner just taught me about how Boricuans speak, and it turns out that puñeta for a Puerto Rican means the same thing as it means for a Mexican. So see, we have so many things in common. That's what I love about the sport of boxing, right? Well, a sport of boxing when we approach it with respect to fighters and with an unbiased manner, right? We value these people. We find commonalities to not only engage ourselves respectfully and maturely, but also because we want to find better ways to grow the sport, right? I think I wanted to say that this past year, homie Ricky, hopping on lives with you has been one of the funnest things that I've been involved in recently. And I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity, because I decided to go live because of the fact that I found this so fun. to engage people out there. So thank you very much for me, Ricky. Congratulations to you and your channel. And I thank you very much for hopping on this live with me again.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure. It's always pretty fun.
Yeah,
There's a
let's
lot of
do it.
drama, high blood
Yeah,
pressure.
yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah. A lot of blood pressure.
Yeah, man.
But
Hey, happy
but
Sunday, guys. I'll see you guys on the next one. And
yeah,
yeah, man, like always, thanks, guys, for tuning in. Vince, Adi Medi, Devil in the Details, Abner. Appreciate you guys, man, for keeping us always on our toes
yep.
and correcting us, when we say nonsense. But yeah, guys, it's
Which
always
is
a
all the
pleasure, man.
time.
I'll see you guys on the next one.
All right, homie Ricky, have a wonderful day, man. Take care.